Chapter 1149. The army breaks the seal. The sudden change caused the Dark Emperor to be slightly stunned, and then a look of shock appeared on his face. Late 7th grade human supreme martial artist. The gray-robed elder's cultivation was at the late phase 7th grade sovereign realm. From the gray-robed old man's state, one could tell how powerful Ning Yu's punch was. Walala! Just as Ning Yu was about to attack the gray-robed old man a second time, the void suddenly split open and several figures descended. Looking at the sudden appearance of several figures, including the Dark Emperor, even Ning Yu's heart sank to the bottom. Danny. The figures that descended from the courtyard were all Dan Puppet. The one with the lowest cultivation was the gray-robed old man who was severely injured by Ning Yu's punch. That also meant that the other pill puppets were all late 7th grade human sovereigns or above. At the very front, Ning Yu even found 2 Dan puppets at the peak of the 8th grade human supreme stage. Ha ha ha! Raising his head and laughing, one of the peak 8th grade human supreme stage Dan puppets said, "The other batch of Dan puppets really have sh*t in their heads. We are Dan puppets, and our main mission is to devour energy. Instead of fighting in the pill cave, why don't we start sweeping through the human world?" The one who spoke was a pinnacle 8th grade human sovereign called Wei Gu. His cultivation was only a step away from the 9th grade human sovereign realm, and he was the leader of the dozen pellet puppet. The old man beside Wei Gu was called Chen He. His strength was slightly weaker than Wei Gu, but his cultivation had also reached the pinnacle of the 8th grade sovereign realm. Before wiping them out, I suggest that we work together to kill those 2 human experts, Chen He said with a slight frown. Don't worry, with the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation, I believe the 2 of them will be able to. Waving his hand, Wei Gu said. Evidently, Wei Gu thought very highly of the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. Rumble. However, before Wei Gu could finish speaking, his pupils shrank and he rapidly retreated. That was because he discovered that the void had split apart once again, and the corpses of 8 early 8th grade human supreme Dan Chi fell from the void. Bang bang bang, as more and more voices rang out, Wei Gu's complexion grew uglier and uglier. Whoosh, whoosh. When all 8 corpses fell to the ground, 2 more figures landed beside Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor. Sword Evil Supremacy, 100 Flowers Palace Master. The next 2 figures to appear were the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword Fiend Supremacy. However, their mental states were clearly a little weak, and their strength was not at its peak. Dan's 7 Desolation Formation. 8 Demonic Ancient 8 Human Supreme Demon. By the time we found the location of the seal, the pill puppets had already broken the seal and laid down the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. They used 8 8th grade human sovereign realm pill puppets to guard the formation, intending to kill all of us. 898 Emperor Star Dan, Void Emperor. 8 7 of 2 200,000 Translator, Editor Dragon, Editor 7 of 8. Demonic 2 Demonic 2 Demonic. Apart from the safety of the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master, Ning Yu was also concerned about their remaining strength. Wei Gu and Chen He were both pinnacle 8th grade human sovereigns. If the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master didn't have much strength left, then everyone might die today. Unless we have 5 more Xingyang pills, we won't be able to unleash our peak strength. The Sword of Evil gritted his teeth. Give me 10 Xingyang pills. I can deal with the leader of the Elixir Pit. Palatial Lord Centuria's words were simple and clear. She didn't beat around the bush as she directly asked for 10 Xingyang pills. I'll give you 15 Xingyang pills. Ning Yu knew the severity of the situation. He took out 2 interspatial pouches and threw them to the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master. After receiving the interspatial pouches, the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master threw the interspatial pouches into their mouths. Seeing the actions of the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master, Ning Yu's lips twitched. Even Wei Gu and Chen He's faces were filled with black lines. Eat interspatial pouches? No matter how hungry you are, you shouldn't eat interspatial pouches. Chun-He, those two cultivators were injured by the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. I'll leave them to you. Wei Gu said in a deep voice, I'll give you 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I don't want to see any survivors. Understood. Chun-He was well aware of the power of the 8 Desolation Demon trapping formation. Even if the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master broke the formation, they would definitely be heavily injured. In other words, he could kill the Sword of Evil and the others with a flip of his hand. Swish. Stepping on the ground, Chun-He's body burst out and arrived before the Sword of Evil in an instant. Clenching his right fist, Chun-He punched towards the Sword of Evil's head. The might of Chun-He's fist was extremely powerful, and it was practically his strongest fist at this stage. Facing such a powerful fist, the Sword of Evil's eyes flashed as he punched out with his right hand. Bang! 2 fists containing terrifying yuan qi collided with each other in front of everyone. A clear sound rang out in the area. Soon after, 2 figures rapidly retreated. Chun-He and the Sword of Evil were evenly matched in this fist. Impossible! After that exchange, Chun-He's eyes widened as disbelief filled his face. He never imagined that he, a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign, wouldn't be able to defeat the heavily injured Sword of Evil. The more Chun-He thought about it, the more shocked he became. In the end, he was even stunned on the spot. Humph! Fortunately, Wei Gu's cold snort had snapped Chun-He out of his daze. You can't even defeat a heavily injured human. It looks like the resources that the Eastern Punitive Army has spent on you weren't worth it. After a cold snort, Wei Gu said in a solemn voice, Go and receive all the pill puppets of the pro-war faction. Try to achieve 0 casualties. Due to the obstruction of the other faction, the seal had been broken, but it was still very dangerous. The pill puppets with cultivations lower than 5th grade sovereign couldn't come out of the seal. Even if their cultivation had reached 5th grade sovereign, they would still require a 8th grade sovereign to receive them if they wanted to come out. As a result, although the seal had been broken, only a dozen pill puppets were able to come out. The majority of them were trapped on the other side of the seal. Yes. Chun-He responded and fiercely glared at the Sword of Evil. Shortly after, his figure gradually turned illusory and quickly disappeared. I'm very curious about what was in the storage pouch that you guys devoured. Crossing his arms before his chest, Wei Gu coldly said, I'll give you guys a chance. Tell me what's in the storage pouch, and I can consider sparing your lives. I'll let you guys join the Pill Puppets' army and become their dogs. Otherwise, Wei Gu paused for a brief moment before his cold voice resounded throughout the area. You guys will know what cruelty is and why flowers are so red. I don't even need to use 50% of my strength to kill you guys. Chapter 1150. A pushover, whether we're at the end of our rope or not, we'll only know after we try. The Sword of Evil's face was emotionless as he spoke. Although the Sword of Evil looked calm on the surface, he was extremely cautious in his heart, not daring to let down his guard. Although he had recovered to his peak after taking the Xingyang pellet, the Sword of Evil still didn't have much confidence against Wei Gu. Wei Gu was the leader of the pellet puppets, possessing a cultivation of pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. With a cold snort, Wei Gu coldly spoke, Leave those 2 8th grade sovereign realm sovereigns to me. As for the rest, kill without mercy. Whoosh! Along with Wei Gu's words, the dozen pellet puppets behind him charged out like a swarm of locusts. The lowest cultivation of these pill puppets was at the late 7th grade human supreme realm. Their goal was very clear: to kill Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, the Talisman Marshal Venerable, as well as Dong He and Mu Feng, who had yet to retreat. A dozen Danqi, whose cultivation was at least at the late 7th grade human sovereign realm, against 5 humans whose cultivation was only at the 5th grade human sovereign realm. No matter how one looked at it, Danqi should have won. Venerable Talisman Marshal, bring Dong He and Mu Feng to the side. Leave this to me and the Dark Emperor. With a grave expression, Ningyu took a step forward and stood in front of Venerable Talisman Marshal. Dark Emperor, there's a total of 16 pellet puppets. We'll take 8 each. Ha ha ha, just 8 trash pellet puppets. No problem. The Dark Emperor charged out with a loud laugh. After advancing to 3rd grade Sovereign Realm, the Dark Emperor's strength had grown by leaps and bounds. What was more frightening was that the Dark Emperor was already equivalent to one of the 5 absolute geniuses. 3rd grade human Sovereign Realm geniuses of the 5 absolute geniuses could easily contend against ordinary 8th grade human sovereigns, or even kill them. Furthermore, of the 8 pellet puppets fighting the Dark Emperor, 6 were pinnacle 7th grade sovereigns, while the remaining 2 were early 8th grade sovereigns. Although this force was a little troublesome for the Dark Emperor, that was all. In the exchange of blows, the Dark Emperor still gained the upper hand. Comparatively speaking, Ningyu was under a lot more pressure. Of the 8 Dan puppets that fought with Ningyu, 4 were peak 7th grade human supremes, 2 early 8th grade human supremes, and even 2 middle 8th grade human supremes. Fortunately, I have advanced to grade 3 human sovereign. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape death today. Ningyu felt a little lucky. If he was only a grade 2 human supreme, even if he was one of the 5 absolute geniuses, it would be useless. Slash. With the red demon sword in hand, Ningyu charged into the pill puppet. Every strike of his sword contained a terrifying wave of vital energy as he slashed at the pill puppet. Rumble. Initially, the 8 elixir puppets did not place Ningyu in their eyes. After all, the weakest among them was a pinnacle 7th grade sovereign. But as time passed, these Dawn found out that they were wrong, very wrong. Ningyu was a freak. His strength could not be measured by cultivation. These Dan puppets had fought for a long time, but they had never seen a 3rd grade human supremacy human who could display such powerful combat strength. Poochie. Just when these Dan puppets were stunned, Ningyu seized the opportunity and stabbed a pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet in the heart. The pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. 1. After this Dan puppet died, Ningyu controlled the red demon sword and devoured him in the blink of an eye. Hiss! The sudden change caused the expressions of the remaining 7 Dan puppets that were fighting with Ningyu to change slightly. All of them sucked in a breath of cold air. One move. With just one move, Ningyu could kill a pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. With such terrifying combat strength, who could stand against him? Go all out. No matter how strong he is, there's only one of us, while there are 7 of us. Among the 7 Dan puppets, one of the middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppets said coldly. Swish, swish. As the gloomy words fell, 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet charged out. Their target was Ningyu. Law of space, it's time to show your power. Looking at the 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet approaching him, Ningyu narrowed his eyes and his body gradually turned illusory. What's going on? Ningyu's sudden disappearance caused the 2 middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet to stop in their track. They hurriedly used their perception to detect Ningyu's specific location. Just at this moment, 3 screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered rang out. 3 pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppets had died in battle. In just a few minutes, Ningyu had already killed 4 pinnacle 7th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. 1. After succeeding, Ningyu controlled the law of space and appeared again. 4 left. Staring at the remaining 4 Dan puppets, Ningyu's expression turned slightly solemn. The remaining 4 Dan puppets were all 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. 2 of them had even reached middle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. Turning his head to look at the Dark Emperor's battle and the Sword of Evil situation, Ning Yu's heart sank. Whether it was the Dark Emperor or the Sword of Evil, the situation was not looking good. Initially, the Dark Emperor had the upper hand. However, as time passed, the Dark Emperor began to show signs of decline. If this continued, the Dark Emperor's defeat was only a matter of time. The Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centauria weren't any better. Wei Gu's cultivation had reached pinnacle 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet. Even the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centauria couldn't contend against him. The Dark Emperor should be able to hold on for another hour. As for the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centauria, they can only hold on for half an hour at most. Ning Yu knew what he had to do. He had to get rid of the enemies before him as soon as possible before helping the Sword of Evil. Once the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master Centauria were heavily injured, not only would they die today, even Danwu College would face a calamity. Brat, you're finished. No one in this world can save you. Seeing their comrade killed, the remaining 4 Dan puppets reprimanded in unison. Noisy! With a cold snort, Ning Yu's body disappeared once again. Not good. Attack everywhere! As soon as Ning Yu disappeared, an early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet shouted. However, not long after he shouted, his body fell backward like a kite with a broken string. Bang! His body slammed heavily against the wall. Fresh blood spurted out, and the aura of the Dan puppet plummeted. You. Stretching out his right hand, the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet opened his mouth wide. He wanted to say something but couldn't utter a word. Swish. Then, the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet's head tilted to the side and he died on the spot. It's your turn. After killing the early 8th grade human supremacy Dan puppet, Ning Yu didn't stop. Instead, he stomped on the ground and charged forward at an even faster speed. Pick the soft persimmon first. Chapter 1151. Split up. Plans could never keep up with the changes. Before Ning Yu could make a move against the early grade 8 human supreme Dan puppet, something happened on the battlefield beside him. Fighting 1 against 8, the Dark Emperor finally managed to kill 4 pinnacle 7th grade Sovereign Realm pellet puppet. However, the remaining 4 pellet puppets seized the opportunity and struck their bodies. Each of the 4 Dan puppets landed a punch on the Dark Emperor's body. Even though the Dark Emperor was a amethyst gold heaven-devouring hound with an exceptionally strong physique, he could not take it. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground as the Dark Emperor's face darkened. I've just advanced to grade 3 human supreme Dan and my cultivation isn't stable yet. The Dark Emperor was vexed. If he had known this would happen, he would have asked Ning Yu for a few Xingyang pills. Otherwise, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Here! Just then, a loud yell rang out. Swoosh! Along with that yell, a storage bag flew over. Who? My Dark Emperor! Even though he was severely injured, the Dark Emperor turned his head swiftly and hollered. However, before the Dark Emperor's reprimanding voice had finished, he cursed. That was because he realized that the storage bag that was flying towards him was thrown out by Ning Yu. Xingyang pills. The Dark Emperor's senses were extremely strong, and he could easily tell that the storage bag contained Xingyang pills. Piak. With swift reflexes, the Dark Emperor grabbed the storage bag and swallowed it along with the storage bag, just like the Sword of Evil and the others. The Dark Emperor's actions had Ning Yu's face filled with black lines. One had to know that he had thrown 3 Xingyang pills to the Dark Emperor. Could the Dark Emperor handle 3 Xingyang pills at the same time? Indeed, Ning Yu's worries were not unfounded. A second after the Dark Emperor swallowed the storage bag, he let out a tragic cry like a pig being slaughtered. Ah! From the moment Ning Yu threw the storage bag to the moment the Dark Emperor swallowed it and let out a tragic cry, it only took a second. When the Dark Emperor let out a tragic cry, The 7 surviving Dan puppets burst into laughter. What are you laughing at? The Dark Emperor's expression changed very quickly. A second ago, he was screaming in pain, but in the next second, his expression changed completely. Ning, you and I are working together. Why aren't you 7 pieces of trash kneeling down and kowtowing to admit your mistakes? Once we make a move, you won't be able to escape. Only death awaits you. The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes and looked at the 7 pill puppets as though he was looking at dead people. The remaining 7 pill puppets were not weak. 2 of them were intermediate 8th grade human supremes, 3 of them were early 8th grade human supremes, and 2 of them were peak 7th grade human supremes. The Dan puppet at the pinnacle of the 7th grade sovereign realm was negligible. Be it Ning Yu or the Dark Emperor, both of them could be easily killed. The only troublesome pill puppets were the 2 8th grade middle stage human supreme venerables. With the 2 of them working together, both Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor found it very strenuous. Dark Emperor, I'll deal with the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets. I'll leave the remaining 5 to you. Ning Yu knew that the Dark Emperor had not completely stabilized yet. Thus, after saying this, he immediately rushed out and attracted the attention of the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppet. Wait for me for 10 minutes. The Dark Emperor knew that Ning Yu was doing this for his own good. He silently thought this sentence in his heart. Then, he quickly swept his tail and turned into an afterimage as he rushed out. Brat, I really admire you. You actually dared to fight with us. The 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets looked at each other and saw the anger in each other's eyes. Although that was what they said, the 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets didn't think so. Admire Ning Yu? To hell with it. They couldn't wait to kill Ning Yu as soon as possible. 16 pill puppets with the lowest cultivation being peak 7th grade human supremes were actually unable to kill 2 3rd grade human supremes and a dog. The most embarrassing thing was that 8 of them were killed. If news of this got out, how could they continue to stand in the pill puppet world? How could they? Oh no. The 2 8th grade middle stage pill puppets were still thinking. Ning Yu had already arrived in front of them with the red demon sword in his hand. He aimed the red demon sword at one of the middle stage pill puppets and stabbed it out. In order to kill in one strike, Ning Yu used a lot of strength in this attack. Whoosh! At this critical moment, the middle stage pill puppet that Ning Yu had locked onto dodged to the side. Although he tried his best to dodge, he was still stabbed by the red demon sword. However, the red demon sword did not pierce the middle stage pill puppet's heart. It only injured the middle stage pill puppet's arm. Brat, you have completely angered me. I will let you know why flowers are so red. The middle stage pill puppet that was stabbed in the arm roared in anger. Don't talk nonsense with me. If you want to fight, then fight. Why do you have so much nonsense to say? Ning Yu curled his lips and said, Fine, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. The injured middle stage pill puppet immediately charged forward, unleashing all of its raging Yuan energy. Yuan energy pill puppet. This was an Yuan energy pill puppet. Most of the pill puppets I've encountered recently are Yuan energy pill puppet. I've never encountered a soul force pill puppet. Ning Yu frowned as he watched the middle stage pill puppet charging at him. Yuan energy pill puppets could help raise one's cultivation level, while soul force pill puppets could help raise one's soul power. Ning Yu understood his own situation very well. After advancing to grade 3 human supreme, it was almost impossible for him to advance to grade 4 human supreme in a short period of time. It would be very difficult for him to obtain even more Yuan energy. Therefore, Ning Yu preferred the soul force pill puppet. Universal palm. His brows suddenly relaxed. Ning Yu's right hand changed from a fist to a palm, and he instantly pushed it out. Swish! Accompanied by a low roar, a palm print that wasn't too big emerged from Ning Yu's palm. Its target was the middle stage pill puppet in front of him. Chi-chi. Due to the speed at which the palm print moved, it created a hissing sound from the friction with the air. This hissing sound was soon inaudible. This was because before the universal palm could transform into the Qian character of the universe, it was destroyed by a grade 8 middle stage pill puppet. After destroying the palm print, the two middle stage pill puppets quickly arrived in front of Ningyu. Two punches, from two different directions, were aimed at Ningyu's head. Law of space. Being chased by two peak pill puppets, Ningyu's expression turned very cold as he hurriedly shouted. Whoosh! Ningyu's shout directly caused the law of space to spring out and float in front of him. On the way back to Danwu College, Ningyu concealed the law of space. In other words, unless it was a grade 9 human supreme, it was impossible to discover the true nature of the law of space. Boom! Ningyu's shout saved his life. The two punches from the two grade 8 middle stage pill puppets almost landed on him. Fortunately, the law of space helped him conceal his location. At this time, the battlefield in the distance changed again. After the Dark Emperor obtained the 3 Xingyang pills, his combat power instantly soared. In less than 10 minutes, 4 middle stage pill puppets were killed. 2 were peak grade 7 human supremes, and 2 were early grade 8 human supremes. There were only 5 middle stage pill puppets fighting the Dark Emperor. After a few minutes of tough battle, the Dark Emperor finally killed 4 of them. The only remaining grade 8 middle stage pill puppet was also heavily injured. Chapter 1152. Faulty seal. In the short span of 7 or 8 minutes. Of the 16 powerful pill caverns, 13 had already died in battle, leaving behind only 3 top-notch pill puppets. 2 8th grade middle human supremes and 1 8th grade early human supremes. Furthermore, the 8th grade early stage human supreme Dan Xiang had suffered heavy injuries and his strength had dropped. No, it should be said that the 8th grade early stage human supreme Dan Xiang had also been successfully killed. Puff! The Dark Emperor was not a fool. He would definitely not hold back. It opened its mouth wide and spat out a beam of cold light, which directly burrowed into the body of the early grade 8 Dan puppet. At the moment of his death, this early 8th grade Dan puppet was still hoping that his companions would come and save him. Caw-caw. One after another, pill puppets died in battle. The remaining 2 middle stage 8th grade pill puppets had very gloomy expressions. They were even clenching their fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. These 2 mid-stage grade 8 pill puppets were called He Tian and He Lai. In the Eastern Expedition Army, He Tian and He Lai held very high positions. Each of them had many Dan puppet troops under their command. If they couldn't kill Ningyu and the Dark Emperor this time, even without Wei Gu saying anything, they wouldn't have the face to return to the Eastern Expedition Army. Therefore, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor must die. Dark Emperor, 1 each? Tossing a Xingyang pill into his mouth, Ningyu pointed at He Tian and He Lai in front of him. Just how many bloody Xingyang pills do you have left? Looking at how Ningyu wasted yet another Xingyang pill, the Dark Emperor said with a sullen face. You should think about how to deal with the 2 of them. Ningyu did not give a direct reply to the Dark Emperor's words, but changed the topic. The 2 of them are both middle phase 8th grade sovereigns with powerful strength. If you can't handle them, then tell me. I can deal with the 2 of them. Humph. If I kill Danming before you, you have to give me 10 Xingyang pills. With a cold harumph, the Dark Emperor demanded. Hee, that depends on whether you can kill it first. With a faint smile, Ningyu's body became illusory. Courting death. Hearing that Ningyu and the Dark Emperor actually used themselves as a wager, He Tian and He Lai were furious. Whoosh, whoosh. He Tian faced the Dark Emperor, while He Lai faced Ningyu. He Tian and He Lai only had one thought in their minds. Kill, kill, kill. The violent killing intent in their hearts surfaced. They only hoped to kill Ningyu and the Dark Emperor as soon as possible, because only then would they be able to resolve the hatred in their hearts. A great battle was on the verge of breaking out. Bang! Bang! At this critical moment, the situation suddenly changed. On the other side of the battlefield, the sword of evil and palatial Lord Centauria were simultaneously punched by Wei Gu. His body was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight to the ground. He Tian, he Lai, I've already heavily injured the palace master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the sword of evil. Grab what? Wei Gu said in a clear voice after succeeding in a single move. Just now, Wei Gu had received news from Chen He, saying that the seal of the pill cave had deteriorated. Over a dozen 5th-grade human Supreme Realm pill puppets had lost their lives. Thus, Wei Gu's first thought was to return to the seal as soon as possible and investigate the situation. Who would have thought that Wei Gu would see a scene that shocked him? Other than He Tian and He Lai, none of the dozen pill puppets he had brought out from the pill cave had survived. Meanwhile, the auras of Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor had not decreased in the slightest. How could Wei Gu not be shocked and puzzled by such a situation? What the hell are you two doing? With a dark expression, Wei Gu berated, Trash. You're all King trash. Why did I raise you two? Give us a few more minutes, I guarantee that we can kill them, He Tian and He Lai said in unison. Humph. Open your eyes and watch how I kill Ning Yu and that damn dog. With a cold snort, Wei Gu disappeared in an instant. Chi. From the moment Wei Gu disappeared to the moment he appeared in front of Ning Yu, only 0.01 seconds had passed. Bang! He abruptly punched out with his right hand. His fist landed squarely on Ning Yu's chest. A huge force came from his chest, causing Ning Yu to fly backward. The place where Ning Yu fell happened to be where the sword of evil and Palace Master Centauria fell. Bang! The Dark Emperor's fate was similar to that of Ning Yu. Not long after Ning Yu fell, the Dark Emperor fell beside them in the same way. Right now, all 4 of them are heavily injured. I'll leave them to you two trash to watch over. You can torture them, you can beat them, but remember, you can't kill them, because I still have a use for them. With that, Wei Gu tore through the void and disappeared in an instant. Pa, pa, pa. After Wei Gu disappeared, He Tian and He Lai clapped their hands at the same time and said sinisterly, There's also a day when you fall into our hands? Haha, we have plenty of time. Let's play slowly. He Tian said with a faint smile. Nodding, He Lai said, That's right, let's play slowly. After a moment of silence, He Lai continued, How about this? I think that black dog is a little special. First, break his limbs, no, I should say the tendons of his claws. Ha! With that, He Lai laughed to himself. Is Wei Gu really that powerful? Is there any way to kill him? No matter what He Lai and the others said, as long as they didn't attack, Ning Yu wouldn't react. Ning Yu's main goal was to communicate with the Sword of Evil and see if they could get rid of Wei Gu. Xingyang pills. Large amounts of Xingyang pills. The Sword of Evil's face was gloomy, but he didn't say anything because he had no other choice. Instead, it was the Centauria Palace Master who said, As long as you can provide me with 40 Xingyang pills, I can set up a huge Centauria array and seal the entire courtyard. At that time, I can even kill a 9th-grade human supreme, let alone a pinnacle 8th-grade human supreme. The Centauria Palace Master's tone was firm and her eyes were cold. Even though she didn't think that Ning Yu had 40 Xingyang pills, she still wanted to give it a try. After all, if she didn't try, she would have to give up this bit of soul power of hers. 40 Xingyang pills, huh? Ning Yu's face was gloomy and no one knew what he was thinking. To be honest, while 40 Xingyang pills were a lot, it wasn't a problem for him. After the sapling devoured the entire Emperor-grade Yuan crystal mine, it produced a total of 100 Xingyang pills. Apart from the 20 to 30 used, there were still 50 Xingyang pills left. Furthermore, the sapling would produce another Xingyang pill after a period of time. If you don't have any, then forget it. Let's just wait for death together. Looking at Ning Yu's expression, the Centauria Palace Master knew that it was likely to be a disaster. It's a pity that I didn't get to learn the soul guidance technique that you mentioned. The reason why the Centauria Palace Master was helping Ning Yu wasn't because of her relationship with Ning Yu, but because Ning Yu had promised her that as long as she could help Ning Yu deal with Dan Zhong, Ning Yu would teach her the soul guidance technique after a month. Chapter 1153. Courting Death. I'll give you 40 Xingyang pills. How long will it take for you to set up the gigantic 100 flowers formation? Just as the palace master was feeling slightly disappointed, Ning Yu's words rang in her ears. Swish. Ning Yu's words caused the palatial master to stand up with a slight change in her expression. Her face was filled with disbelief. 40 Xingyang pills. That was 40 Xingyang pills. Just what sort of a freak was Ning Yu to say that he could provide her with 40 Xingyang pills? Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, the palace master said in a deep voice, with 40 Xingyang pills, I can set up the gigantic 100 flowers formation in 10 minutes. Furthermore, my cultivation will recover to the pinnacle of grade 8 supreme. 10 minutes, huh? Ning Yu furrowed his brows. Set up the 100 flowers formation with all your might. As for He Tian and He Lai, leave them to me and the sword of evil. Swoosh. With that, Ning Yu flicked his sleeves and tossed another 2 Xingyang pills to the sword of evil. Sword of evil, I can buy you 3 minutes. In other words, if you can't recover in 3 minutes, everyone will die today. Before the sword of evil could reply, Ning Yu stomped on the ground and charged towards He Tian and He Lai. In the process, Ning Yu took out a Xingyang pill and tossed it into his mouth. Crack! The moment the Xingyang pill entered his stomach, Ning Yu hurriedly channeled the spirit transformation technique and started refining it at full speed. The spirit transformation technique refined essence qi at an extremely fast speed. Even though Ning Yu did not manage to refine the entire Xingyang pill, he was able to refine most of it. Slash. With essence qi wrapped around his wrist, Ning Yu slashed out with a sword gleam. TSK. The sword gleam tore through the void and struck towards He Tian. As for Ning Yu, he wielded the red demon sword and clashed with He Tian. Rumble. In the air, all kinds of spells were unleashed. Ning Yu knew that his mission was to stall He Lai and the others, not to kill them. Therefore, the strength of each of Ning Yu's strikes was just right, not wasting a shred of essence energy. Damn it! He Lai's expression was extremely ugly. Like Ning Yu, Wei Gu was unable to use his full strength in each of his attacks, because before Wei Gu left, he had instructed that they could only torture Ning Yu and the others, not kill them. Otherwise, with He Lai's personality, he would have killed Ning Yu long ago. Why would he wait until now? He Tian, I'll deal with this brat. You go take care of the others. He Lai said sinisterly as he rolled his eyes. Since I can't kill you, I'll torture you slowly. It's fine if I torture you, but I'm going to torture your friends too. I'll let you know what cruelty is. No problem. He Tian was also holding back his anger. His figure flashed, and he instantly landed beside the Dark Emperor. His right hand clenched into a fist, and he ruthlessly punched the Dark Emperor's head. Although He Tian's punch might not be able to kill the Dark Emperor, it shouldn't be a problem to heavily injure him. Law of Space. Seeing He Tian charging at the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu hurriedly communicated with the Law of Space. As he had devoured a lot of royal-grade essence crystals underground in the Devil's Cave, Ning Yu's figure appeared in front of the Dark Emperor as soon as he finished speaking. Bang! At the critical moment, Ning Yu punched out, colliding with He Tian's fist. A crisp sound rang out, and the two figures quickly retreated. Brat, how can you be so fast? After one move, He Tian's face was filled with shock. How could Ning Yu reach his side so quickly? How could Ning Yu reach his side so quickly? 0.001 second? Even He Tian might not be able to reach this distance so quickly, but Ning Yu had done it. 2 minutes left. Rubbing his slightly swollen wrist, Ningyu thought to himself. As long as he held on for another 2 minutes, the Sword of Evil would be able to recover to his peak condition. At that time, with the Sword of Evil's strength, he could probably defeat or even kill He-Tian and the others with a single move. Do you want to know why I'm so fast? Ningyu's eyes darted around and he said calmly, Flight spell, I know a flight spell. What flight spell? He-Tian fell for it as expected and he asked coldly. At this time, He-Lai also flew over. However, He-Lai didn't attack immediately. Instead, he crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ningyu. Tell us that flight spell, and we can leave your corpse intact. You don't dare to kill me. Ningyu said indifferently, I heard what Wei Gu said before he left. You can torture me, but you can't kill me. Brat. Don't be arrogant. He-Lai said coldly. Our methods of torture are far beyond what you can imagine. Let me give you a piece of advice. Answer our questions honestly, or you'll die of agony, He-Tian added. All right, the incantation for the flight spell is a bit long, I'm afraid you won't be able to remember it. Shrugging, Ningyu said. Ha ha ha. Our memory is so good, what kind of spell? Holy shit. He-Lai said with a maniacal laugh. However, before He-Lai could finish his sentence, he cursed. Because Ningyu had already opened his mouth and started reciting the incantation for the flight spell. All things in the world, flight is the most important. Ningyu recited the incantation very quickly, so quickly that He-Lai couldn't react at all. Often, he would only remember the first half of the sentence before Ningyu finished reciting the second half. In order to memorize the incantation perfectly, He-Lai said in a low voice, He-Tian, we'll each recite one sentence. No problem. He-Tian replied. The reason why He-Tian and He-Lai were so attentive was because they could feel that the flight spell Ningyu recited was not simple. Fortunately, I didn't just randomly come up with a spell, or I would have been easily discovered. Ningyu murmured as he recited the incantation. Truth be told, Ningyu had wanted to randomly come up with a spell, but at the crucial moment, he searched his mind and found a flight spell. According to the rank of the martial skill, the flight spell should be at the emperor rank. A monarch-ranked martial technique was extremely attractive to He-Tian and He-Lai. Drip, drip, time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, 2 minutes had passed since Ningyu recited the incantation. Rumble. As it turned out, the Sword of Evil did not disappoint Ningyu. He said 3 minutes, and it was 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, a terrifying aura emanated from the Sword of Evil's body. A peak grade 8 human supreme. After consuming the 2 Xingyang pills provided by Ningyu, the Sword of Evil had completely recovered to his peak state. The reason why the Sword of Evil could recover to his peak state after consuming 2 Xingyang pills was not because the Xingyang pills provided by Ningyu were heaven-defying, but because the injuries he had sustained this time around were not too serious. It was just that he had expended too much of his essence qi. 2 Xingyang pills replenished his essence qi and allowed him to recover to his peak state. Not good, retreat. He-Tian and He-Lai were not idiot. When they felt the terrifying aura emanating from the Sword of Evil, their expressions changed and they retreated hastily. They were only middle grade 8 human supreme. How could they fight a peak grade 8 human supreme? Chapter 1154. Giant 100 Flowers Formation, you want to leave? It won't be that easy. Seeing that He-Tian and the others were about to leave, the Sword of Evil snorted coldly and disappeared. After recovering to his peak state, the Sword of Evil felt like he could do anything with ease. A second after disappearing, the Sword of Evil reappeared beside He-Tian. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched toward He-Tian's chest with an extremely violent yuan qi. Faced with such a terrifying punch, He-Tian's mouth was agape and his eyes were filled with terror. He was only an 8th grade intermediate human supreme martial artist. How could he be a match for the sword of evil? Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Without a doubt, the sword of evil's fist had landed on He Tion's chest. The immense force sent He Tion flying several meters away. Poochie! He Tion spat out a mouthful of blood as his aura plummeted. Shio! At this time, an afterimage swept over from afar. Dark Emperor! The afterimage was none other than the Dark Emperor. Due to the remnant effects of the Xingyang pill within his body, the Dark Emperor only took a few minutes to recover. Although he had not recovered to his peak state, it was not difficult for the Dark Emperor to fly quickly with the density of the Yuan Qi in his body. A hysterical scream came from He Tion's mouth. Before long, He Tion was completely devoured by the Dark Emperor. Not to mention the heavily injured He Tion, even if he was a 9th grade human sovereign, the Dark Emperor would still be able to devour him, even if he was a 9th grade human sovereign. Don't kill me. I can tell you how to restrain Weigu and Dan Gui. He Lai stuttered a little when he saw He Tion being devoured with his own eyes. Ningyu, do you want to keep it? The sword of evil stopped and turned around to ask. No need. Kill without mercy, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Hearing Ningyu's words, He Lai was close to despair, and he hastily said, You can't kill me, Pooh. However, since Ningyu had spoken, how could the sword of evil spare He Lai? He attacked with all his might, raising his hand and throwing a punch. He Lai spat out a mouthful of blood as his aura rapidly dropped to a terrifying level. Whoosh! The same action, the same behavior. After the Dark Emperor devoured He Tion, he devoured He Lai as well. Burp! After devouring He Tion and He Lai one after another, the Dark Emperor burped. Ningyu, give me some time. I'll refine them first. After saying this, the Dark Emperor's body fell straight to the ground. What's wrong? The sword of evil's expression changed slightly when he saw the Dark Emperor fall to the ground. It's fine. He has swallowed too much energy, so he can't refine it in a short period of time. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating that the sword of evil didn't need to worry. Then, he walked up to the palace mistress. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu asked, How much longer will it take to set up the Giant 100 Flowers formation? Whether or not they could set up the Giant 100 Flowers formation, and how long it would take to set up the Giant 100 Flowers formation, were the key to whether or not they could escape unscathed today. 5 minutes. The palace mistress was concise and didn't say anything else after saying this. 5 minutes. Frowning slightly, Ningyu turned around and said, Sword of Evil, pay close attention to the underground situation. The moment a pill puppet comes out, inform me immediately. What are you going to do? The Sword of Evil was startled at first, then asked. Nothing much. I'm just cleaning up the Dark Emperor's mess. Ningyu said. The Dark Emperor was also a rare help. As long as he could help the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body, he could even improve further and become a middle-grade 3 human sovereign. As one of the 5 absolute geniuses, Ningyu was well aware of how terrifying they were. For example, he was an early grade 3 human sovereign and could easily kill an early grade 8 human sovereign. Once he advanced to the 3rd grade intermediate human sovereign realm, he would be able to easily kill an 8th grade intermediate human sovereign realm. As long as he advanced to peak grade 3 human sovereign, he could even fight against a peak grade 8 human sovereign. Of course, every minor advancement was extremely difficult, especially for someone like him and the Dark Emperor who had just advanced to peak grade 3 human sovereign. It was extremely difficult for them to advance another minor level. Chi. Ningyu didn't hesitate when doing things. If he said he would help the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body, he would do it. Soul force quietly entered the Dark Emperor's body. Ningyu was highly focused as he helped the Dark Emperor refine the energy within his body. As time passed, the Dark Emperor's condition improved. After only 3 minutes, the Dark Emperor opened his eyes, his chubby face filled with joy. Peak Early Grade 3 Human Sovereign. The Dark Emperor's cultivation had reached peak Early Grade 3 Human Sovereign. As long as he could refine the last bit of energy within his body, he could successfully advance to Middle Grade 3 Human Sovereign. Rumble. At this moment, a rumbling sound rang out. Schwa, schwa, schwa. The ground suddenly split open and 3 figures shot out. Not good, it's Pill Puppet. Looking at the 3 figures that suddenly appeared, the Dark Emperor's expression changed slightly. This was the crucial moment for him to advance to Middle Grade 3 Human Sovereign. Didn't the appearance of Pill Puppets mean that he couldn't advance anymore? Don't worry, it's just a peak 5th Grade Human Sovereign. Ning Yu coldly said, leave it to the Sword of Evil. What you need to do is to increase my cultivation as soon as possible. Understood. The Dark Emperor knew that time was of the essence. He closed his eyes and cooperated with Ning Yu to refine the energy within his body. Bang bang bang. The Sword of Evil didn't disappoint Ning Yu. 3 peak 5th Grade Human Sovereigns couldn't stop him. With 3 consecutive moves, he quickly killed the 3 peak 5th Grade Human Sovereigns. Palace Master Centauria, hurry up. The Seal Underground has been restrained by Wegu, and a large number of pill puppets will surge up soon. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for long. After killing the 3 pill puppets, the Sword of Evil said, once Wegu appears and you haven't finished setting up the giant 100 Flowers formation, everyone will be finished. Don't worry, the giant 100 Flowers formation will be completed soon. The Palace Master Centauria wasn't too worried. Furthermore, she wasn't disturbed by the outside world and focused on setting up the 100 Flowers formation. In just a few minutes, she had already used up 35 out of the 40 Xingyang pills. She was only left with 5. Let's go all out, Xialan. Whether your body can withstand these 5 Xingyang pills will depend entirely on your luck. Opening her mouth, the Palace Master Centauria swallowed the remaining 5 Xingyang pills. If this body belonged to the Palace Master Centauria, not to mention 5 Xingyang pills, she would even be able to refine 50 Xingyang pills. Xialan was only an initial 8th grade human sovereign. Her body wasn't too tough. Whether she could withstand the impact of 5 Xingyang pills would depend entirely on her luck. If she could withstand it, she might even advance to intermediate 8th grade human sovereign. If she couldn't, there was a high chance that she would die on the spot. Once Xialan died, the 100 Flowers formation would fail. Gulp. Chapter 1155. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Just as the Palace Master was refining the Xingyang pills with all her might, the ground in the distance cracked open again, and 3 more figures leaped out. 6th grade Human Supremes. 3 5th grade Human Supremes had leaped out previously, and this time, a 6th grade Human Supremes had emerged. Die. Reverend Sword Evil was highly focused. After killing 3 5th grade Human Sovereigns, he immediately went forward and used his powerful strength to kill another 3 6th grade Human Sovereigns. Palace Master, hurry up. I'm afraid that even stronger pill puppets will appear. The Sword of Evil realized the severity of the situation after 2 batches of 6 pill puppets with increasingly higher cultivation. If nothing went wrong, a 7th grade human supremacy pill puppet would appear next. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As expected, the Sword of Evil's guess was right. Just as he finished speaking, another 3 pill puppets leaped out from the ground. 7th grade Human Supremes. The cultivation of these 3 pill puppets had reached the terrifying 7th grade Human Supremacy realm. Fortunately, the Sword of Evil had recovered to his peak state. Otherwise, these 3 batches of powerful pill puppets would have started a massacre in Danwu College. The entire courtyard was divided into 3 parts. Ningyu was helping the Dark Emperor refine the energy, the Sword of Evil was blocking the pill puppets from the pill cavern, and the palace master was refining the Xingyang pills. As the pill puppets grew stronger, the sword of evil was starting to feel powerless. Although he could kill an initial stage 8th grade human sovereign, if there were too many of them, he wouldn't be able to kill them all at once. He needed time. While he was killing the pill puppets, there would definitely be pill puppets attacking Ningyu and the palace master. As a matter of fact, an early 8th grade human sovereign realm Dan puppet slipped away from Venerable Sword Evil's eyes and headed straight for Ningyu. Boom! At this critical moment, a terrifying aura erupted from the Dark Emperor's body. This aura was exceptionally frightening as it soared into the sky. 3rd grade mid-human supremacy realm. With Ningyu's help, the Dark Emperor had advanced to the 3rd grade intermediate sovereign realm. Courting death. The Dark Emperor, who was a middle grade 3 human supreme martial artist, was enraged when he saw the Dan Qi attacking Ningyu. A cold voice rang out from the Dark Emperor's mouth. Shortly after, the Dark Emperor's 4 hooves landed on the ground and shot out. Whoosh! The Dark Emperor did not hold back at all. After reaching the 3rd grade intermediate sovereign realm, he had used his full strength in his first move. The early stage grade 8 human supreme Dan Qi did not expect the Dark Sovereign's attack to be so powerful. In a moment of carelessness, he was struck in the chest by the Dark Sovereign, causing him to fall to the ground. Xiao! Succeeding in one move, the Dark Emperor chased after him. Towards these pill puppets who wanted to kill him, the Dark Emperor would never hold back. Wait! However, when Ningyu saw the Dark Emperor attacking with all his might, he hurriedly said, "I still have use for him." Whoosh! Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor stopped and looked at Ningyu in confusion. What was the point of keeping Danny? Could he still be steamed or fried? Ask about the seal in the pill cave. Tossing a royal grade origin crystal into his mouth, Ningyu continued, "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated." "Alright, I'll go ask." Shrugging his shoulders, the Dark Emperor came to Dan Qi and kicked him. "You've heard Ningyu's words. You better tell me the truth. Otherwise, I'll let you know why the flowers are red." "Tui!" Dan Qi spat out a mouthful of saliva as he coldly said. "The seal in the pill cave has already been stabilized by Venerable Wegu, and there will be an endless supply of Dan Qi. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you want to live, then let me go. I will put in a few good words for you before Venerable Wegu. Otherwise, you guys..." As the Dan Qi spoke, he spewed a mouthful of blood and his aura fell to the freezing point. The Dark Emperor retracted his tail that was wrapped around Dan Qi's neck and said indifferently, "I hate people who threaten me the most. No, I hate humans who threaten me and Dan Qi the most. It's not an injustice for you to die in my hands." Dan Qi was originally still breathing, but when he heard the Dark Emperor's words, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. There are many colors in the world. What's there to take things too hard? Seeing the Dan Qi die, the Dark Emperor shrugged. His words were always about devouring. "Since you're already dead, then I can't let this corpse go to waste." The Dark Emperor dragged Dan Qi's corpse to the other side and started devouring. Ningyu rolled his eyes and flew to the side of the Sword of Evil. "What's going on? There seems to be no more Dan Qi coming up in the past minute. It should be that Wegu has discovered something and wants to wait for the Dan Qi army to gather before coming out." The Sword of Evil's expression was solemn and a little cold. If it was really as he had guessed, then it was going to be a disaster. The further they went, the higher the cultivation of the Dan Qi one could imagine that the pill puppet that would emerge from the pill cave would at least be at the 8th grade intermediate human sovereign realm. As for whether there would be a powerful middle grade 9 human supreme, the Sword of Evil had no idea. "I wonder when the palace master will be able to set up the giant 100 flowers array." Turning his head to look at the palace master, who was still busy, Ningyu said, "Sword of Evil, you've been fighting for too long. Here are 2 Xingyang pills. Use them sparingly because I only have a total of 5. Swish. Throwing an interspatial pouch to the Sword of Evil, Ningyu continued, "While Dan Qi is resting, we can also take a break." Piak. Receiving the interspatial pouch, the Sword of Evil took out a Xingyang pill and threw it into his mouth without a word. Honestly speaking, the Sword of Evil had expended a lot of energy during this period of battle. Fortunately, Ningyu had Xingyang pills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to recover so quickly. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. After devouring the Xingyang pill, the Sword of Evil had recovered to his peak condition. As for the Dark Emperor, he had also reached the peak of middle grade 3rd grade 9 human supreme after devouring the Dan Qi that was an early grade 8 human supreme. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground caved in again. A huge pit appeared in the courtyard. Swoosh. Following that, an overwhelming number of Dan Qi jumped out of the pit. SSS. Seeing the sudden appearance of the Dan Qi, Ningyu and the Sword of Evil gasped at the same time. Many. Very many. Terrifyingly many. In the blink of an eye, 50 pill puppets came out of the hole. Ningyu and the rest knew very well that the pit was connected to the pill cave. In other words, all the Dan Qi in the pill cave might come out at once. Palace Master by Hua. At this critical moment, Ningyu shouted. Boom. Following Ningyu's shout, the Palace Master by Hua gave off a terrifying aura. Swish. 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 The Palace Master by Hua waved her hands repeatedly. Instantly, 4 huge pillars of light rose in the surroundings. The beams of light converged in midair, and then suddenly dispersed in all directions, forming a transparent barrier of light. Chapter 1156. 9th grade, What the F****? The sudden change caused Ningyu to curse. The reason why Ningyu cursed wasn't because the 100-flower array wasn't set up yet, nor was it because the array was flawed. It was because the gigantic 100 flowers formation had enveloped them within it. Sharing the 100-flower array with so many pellet puppets? Ningyu didn't want to die yet. Palatial Mistress, quickly think of a way to break the 100-flower array. Ningyu immediately said. Haha, you're only leaving now? Don't you think it's a little late? Suddenly, a faint voice resounded. Russell. Shortly after, Wei Gu appeared from the group of pellet puppets. Looking at the barrier around him, Wei Gu smiled. Did you think that I wouldn't know after killing so many pellet puppets? The reason why I didn't appear was because I was breaking the seal. After this period of work, I've already broken the seal underground. Wei Gu, you're only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. Your words don't matter here. The palatial mistress expression didn't change, as if she was talking about something that had nothing to do with her. I'm only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign? Hearing the palace master's words, Wei Gu pointed at his own nose. How powerful do you think you are? Aren't you only a pinnacle 8th grade sovereign? After refining the 5 Xingyang pellets and adding the remaining energy from the 100-flower array, the palatial mistress had recovered to the pinnacle 8th grade sovereign. As for Xielan, her cultivation had also reached the intermediate 8th grade sovereign. With Xielan's body, the palatial mistress wasn't afraid of Wei Gu. On the contrary, the palatial mistress was confident that she could kill Wei Gu in the 100-flower array. However, the palatial mistress wouldn't do that, because she knew better than anyone that Wei Gu wasn't the strongest among the pellet puppets, but the 3rd strongest. That meant that there were 2 other pellet puppets with higher cultivation than Wei Gu. Wei Gu was a peak 8th grade human sovereign, and his cultivation was even higher than Wei Gu's. One could imagine that his cultivation was definitely at 9th grade human sovereign. Come out. If you still don't come out, I'll kill your right-hand man, Wei Gu. Don't doubt my strength. If I want to kill Wei Gu, it'll be as easy as blowing off dust. The palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace didn't care about Wei Gu's reaction at all. Humph! You're playing tricks on us. With a cold snort, Wei Gu stomped on the ground and charged out at an astonishing speed. Wei Gu was very fast. He was so fast that he appeared in front of Palatial Lord Centauria the moment he vanished. "I'll send you to hell," a cold voice rang out from Wei Gu's mouth. Immediately after, Wei Gu's fist was accompanied by a violent gale of yuan qi as it ruthlessly smashed towards the palatial mistress' head. For the sake of killing the palace master with a single strike, Wei Gu had utilized 100% of his strength in this punch. "Sword of evil, go and help." At this critical moment, Ningyu hastily said. It wasn't that Ningyu doubted the palace master's strength, but he was afraid that the battle between the palace master and Wei Gu would incur the wrath of the pellet puppets. Facing so many 8th-grade Sovereign Realm pellet puppets, it was impossible for Ningyu and the Sword of Evil's group to resist. Right now, he could only let the Sword of Evil make a move as soon as possible and kill Wei Gu together with the palace master. Only then would he be able to intimidate them. Otherwise, the consequences would be… Holy shit! Just when Ningyu thought about it, his eyes widened as he looked at the scene before him with disbelief on his face. Boom! The palace master slightly shifted her body and clenched her right hand into a fist. Then, she threw it towards Wei Gu's heart. A powerful force came from his heart, causing Wei Gu to fly out. Crack! 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 As he flew out, cracking sounds constantly resounded from Wei Gu's body. Boom! Not long after, Wei Gu heavily fell onto the ground and spewed a mouthful of blood. Wei Gu raised his hand with great difficulty and opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. Russell! The sudden changes caused the pellet puppets in this region, including Ning Yu's group, to be dumbfounded. Dead? Wei Gu, who was a pinnacle 8th-grade sovereign, was actually killed by a single punch from the palace master? Wasn't this too exaggerated? Venerable Wei Gu is a pinnacle 8th-grade sovereign, how could he be killed? He was truly killed, and it was by a single punch. Even Venerable Wei Gu is dead. What should we do? The remaining pellet puppets looked at each other and had no idea what to do. Pow! 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 As the pellet puppets discussed, a black-robed elder pushed the crowd aside and slowly appeared before Ningyu's group. The elder clapped his hands and faintly said, "I have to say, you guys are truly not bad. To be able to kill Wei Gu so easily looks like I've underestimated you guys. Let me introduce myself. I'm Helion, the person in charge of the Eastern Expedition Army in the Great Xia Kingdom." The elder continued, "This attack on the human world was also ordered by me. A 9th-grade sovereign." Sensing the terrifying aura emanating from Helion, Ning Yu's face turned grave. Helion was a 9th-grade sovereign. However, Ning Yu was a little puzzled. Why did Helion just watch as Wei Gu was killed without doing anything to stop it? Could it be that there was enmity between Helion and Wei Gu? Shaking his head, Ning Yu rejected this possibility. With the ability of a 9th-grade sovereign, killing an 8th-grade sovereign was as easy as blowing off dust. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Buzz buzz! As Ningyu was pondering, the law of space began to shake violently. The shaking of the law of space made Ningyu's heart skip a beat. He hurriedly used a secret technique to probe Helion. Humph! As if sensing that Ningyu was probing him, Helion snorted coldly and flicked his sleeves. In an instant, a cold light flew out and rushed towards Ningyu. Soul power! The aura emitted from the cold light was neither yuan qi nor energy. It was soul power. Soul pellet puppet. Helion was a soul pellet puppet. His main attack method was soul power attack. Universe palm. Ningyu clenched his teeth and hurriedly wrapped all his soul power around his wrist. With a backhand slap, he sent out a horrifying palm print. Universe palm was a soul attack spell. To deal with a soul attack, one had to use a soul attack. Otherwise, one's soul power might be heavily injured. Chi. The cold light and the palm print collided and both dissipated. I didn't expect you to know a soul attack spell as well. Seeing that his attack was easily neutralized by Ningyu, Helion raised the corner of his mouth and said, I am a soul pellet puppet. If I can obtain your soul attack spell, my strength will improve a little. Although Helion was a soul pellet puppet, he knew very few soul attack spells. If he could really get his hands on the Netherworld Samsara Palm, his strength would improve a lot. Chapter 1157. Helion, you want the Netherworld Samsara Palm? Ningyu was first stunned and then he said, It's not impossible. So long as you promise not to attack the human world in the future, then I'll tell you the cultivation technique of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Furthermore, at this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before continuing, I will also tell you about a soul attack technique that is even more powerful than the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Sigh. Ningyu's words made Helion sigh softly. He said, I originally thought that you were very smart. Who would have thought that there was something wrong with your head? I've lost so many pill puppet soldiers to break the seal and come to the human world, yet you want me to give up? Is there something wrong with your head? You're very lucky to be able to block my first attack. However, you definitely won't be so lucky with my second attack. As soon as the word chi was uttered, Helion stomped his feet on the ground, and his body suddenly disappeared. Ningyu, retreat! The Sword of Evil and the Palatial Master shouted at the same time when they saw Helion disappear. Ningyu's expression was cold. His legs slightly spread apart, and his middle stage 7th grade soul force poured out, wrapping around his palm. Chi-chi. The soul power that was constantly jumping around, let out a chi-chi sound as it rubbed against the air. Ningyu's palms also shook rhythmically along with the sizzling sound. Law of Space, can you find Helion's exact location? Ningyu asked as he gathered the primal chi in his body towards his palm. From Helion's first weak soul attack, Ningyu guessed a possibility. Although the possibility of that wasn't very high, Ningyu still had to verify it. Because once that possibility was established, they would be able to retreat unscathed today. Buzz buzz. The Law of Space shook twice before sending a message back to Ningyu. Heaven and Earth Palm. After receiving the message from the Law of Space, Ningyu was even more certain of his guess. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched forward. As soon as he punched out, Ningyu turned his fist into a palm. A blood-red palm print separated from his right palm. The palm print transformed into a huge Qian character in midair, and then suddenly blasted towards the void. Gotcha! The seemingly tight void was directly shattered by Ningyu's palm print. Whoosh! Space shattered and a figure was sent flying away. Helion, the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and Venerable Sword Evil were shocked when they saw the figure flying out of the void. It was completely different from what they had imagined. Originally, they thought that Ningyu would definitely be defeated, and it would be a very easy defeat. Who would have thought that not only did Ningyu not lose, he even pushed Helion back several feet. Strange, too strange. Bang! Because the surroundings were sealed by the 100 Flowers Array, Helion's body slammed heavily into the 100 Flowers Array and stopped on the spot. Helion spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and his aura slightly weakened. Ningyu, you've completely infuriated me. With a fierce look in his eyes, Helion coldly said, I'll give you one last chance. Tell me the cultivation method of the Netherworld Samsara Palm, or else I'll… Haha, don't you think it's a little ridiculous for you to still say such words? Said Ningyu with a faint smile. If I'm not wrong, although you're a grade 9 human supreme, you've suffered serious internal injuries, and your battle prowess has fallen to the level of a peak grade 8 human supreme. Whoosh! Ningyu's words made Helion's heart skip a beat. He was extremely shocked. How did Ningyu know that he was injured? Aside from himself, no one in the Eastern Expedition Army knew that he was injured. Helion didn't believe that Ningyu's senses were so powerful that he could discover that he was injured. A bunch of nonsense. Helion coldly snorted and said, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, I can only send you to hell. Go, all of you go. Regardless of life or death, kill this arrogant brat first. Rumble. Helion was the leader of these, Dan knew. His words had a decisive effect. As Helien's voice fell, all the puppets in the 100 Flowers array moved out and charged at Ningyu. The puppets' goal was clear. They wanted to kill Ningyu and turn Ningyu's bones into ashes. You even dared to provoke our leader. Aren't you courting death? Have you asked for my permission to fight in the 100 Flowers array? The palace master seemed to have understood something from Helien's words. Although Helien was a 9th-grade human supreme, he wasn't as strong as a 9th-grade human supreme, but a pinnacle 8th-grade human supreme. The palace master took a step forward and waved her hands. Sand and pebbles flew around and a white mist appeared, trapping the puppets inside. 100 Flowers array, 100 flowers appear. The palace master roared and waved her hands again and again. Whoosh! Several petals fell from the sky. Stab! 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 Not only were there many petals, but they were also abnormally sharp. Some of the puppets at the 5th grade, 6th grade, and even 7th grade human supreme couldn't block the sharp petals. Their necks were cut open and blood flowed into their bodies. Bang! Bang! Because they were trapped in the mist and their companions were killed by the petals, the rest of the puppets were terrified and even started fighting. Internal strife. Once this kind of internal strife started, unless a powerful warrior intervened, it would continue. In just 3 minutes, most of the elixir puppets in the 100 Flower formation were killed. As for Helien, he stood on the spot. His eyes flickered, but he didn't intervene. Ningyu, is Helien really only a pinnacle 8th grade human supreme? The Dark Emperor moved closer to Ningyu and asked. Why? You want to spar with him? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, To tell you the truth, even if Helien only has the strength of an early-stage 8th grade human supreme, you won't be his match. His consciousness is very strong, and he's still a 9th grade human supreme. The reason why Ningyu didn't let the Sword of Evil fight Helien was because Helien was stronger, and the Sword of Evil might not be able to defeat him. As for the second reason, it was because the Honorable Sword Evil was busy. The Sword of Evil was busy, which was different from the Palace Master of 100 Flowers. The Palace Master of 100 Flowers was killing the puppets, while the Sword of Evil was thinking of ways to strengthen the connection between the 100 Flowers array and the underground pill cave. The location of the 100 Flowers array was very special. Not only did it trap Helien and the others inside, but it also blocked the underground pill cave. The Palace Master of 100 Flowers said that Wei Gu had the 3rd highest cultivation among the puppets, which meant that there were 2 9th grade human supreme in the pill cave. Helien was one, and the other was Fong Chong, who was in the pill cave. Fong Chong was also trying his best to break the 100 Flowers array. Chapter 1158. Stratagem. I don't want to spar with Helien, but this can't go on. We have to think of a way to get rid of Helien Ka. The Dark Emperor shook his head and said in a low voice, With the support of the 100 Flower array, the mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace is indeed very powerful. She is the absolute ruler here, but, as he spoke, the Dark Emperor paused for a moment before continuing, Helien is not someone to be trifled with. If he launches a sneak attack on the mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace, the consequences will be unimaginable. Ningyu raised his brows as he stared at the Dark Emperor with interest and said, I do have a way, but it depends on whether you have the courage to do so. I have plenty of courage. The Dark Emperor said proudly. After reaching the middle grade 3 sovereign realm, the Dark Emperor's confidence had increased by a lot. If it wasn't for Ningyu's reminder, the Dark Emperor would have already taken the initiative to attack Helien. Why would he wait until now? Alright, if nothing goes wrong, Helien will definitely make his move in a few minutes. Your mission is to delay Helien for as long as you can. As he spoke, Ningyu stomped his feet on the ground and dashed out. Rustle! Just as Ningyu dashed out, Hulian's body moved and charged towards Ningyu. What the F***? Seeing Hulian's actions, the Dark Emperor couldn't help cursing. Dark Emperor, block Hellion for a few minutes. I'll join hands with the Sword of Evil to reinforce the 100-flower array, then I'll go help you. An anxious voice sounded in the Dark Emperor's ears, causing the Dark Emperor's originally angry expression to slightly ease up. Not good. Although he wasn't angry anymore, the Dark Emperor's face suddenly changed. That's because he saw that Hellion had already arrived before Ningyu, clenching his right hand into a fist and throwing it towards Ningyu's chest. The Dark Emperor could clearly feel that Hulian's fist was extremely powerful. If Ningyu was unlucky enough to be hit, he would definitely be killed on the spot. While looking at Hellion, who was constantly approaching him, Ningyu's mouth was wide open, and he even stuttered a little. Ningyu's body trembled as despair surfaced on his face. Ha ha, I used to think that you were a man, but now it seems that you're just a wax figure with a silver spear. Nice to look at, but useless. With a wild laugh, Hellion curled his lips and said, If you can block this punch of mine, I will spare your life. Otherwise, he. In Hulian's eyes, Ningyu was already a dead man. Ningyu was only a third-grade human supreme martial artist, while he was a ninth-grade human supreme martial artist. Even if his strength was reduced to the level of a peak 8th-grade human supreme martial artist, Ningyu would definitely die. Moreover, that idiot, the Sword of Evil, was actually so focused on strengthening the 100-flower formation that he didn't seem to care about what was going on outside. This was the perfect opportunity for him to kill Ningyu. The opportunity was fleeting. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Hellion definitely had to grab hold of it tightly. If not, what? However, before Hulian's fist could land on Ningyu's body, he heard a familiar voice. It wasn't Ningyu. The warrior who spoke was not Ningyu, because Ningyu was still in the same state, trembling all over. The Sword of Evil. The warrior who spoke was the Sword of Evil. Damn it! Hellion was a smart man. When he heard the Sword of Evil's words, he immediately reacted. This was a trap. This was a trap that Ningyu and the Sword of Evil had worked together to take him down while he was relaxed. Bang! Hellion only reacted now, but it was obviously a little too late. The Sword of Evil tore through the void and appeared in front of him in an instant, punching him in the chest. The huge force directly blasted Hellion several feet away. Good chance. Seeing Hellion retreat, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes, and a glint shot out from them. Holding the red devil sword, Ningyu instantly dashed out and slashed at Hellion. There was a good saying, take your life while you're down. The task of killing Hellion was very difficult. The Palace Master and the Sword of Evil couldn't help much. Everything fell on the shoulders of Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. The Palace Master attacked Dan Qi in the 100-flower formation with all her might, while the Sword of Evil strengthened the 100-flower formation with all her might. Under this premise, the pressure on Ningyu and the Dark Emperor immediately increased. If they didn't succeed, they would die. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Soul attack. Hellion wasn't to be trifled with. Although the Sword of Evil's sneak attack caused his battle strength to drop again, Hellion was still able to fight Ningyu and the Dark Emperor with ease. After all, Ningyu was only an early-stage Grade 3 Human Supreme, and the Dark Emperor was only a mid-stage Grade 3 Human Supreme. As a Soul Danchi, Hulian's first attack was a soul attack. Universe Palm. Ningyu knew how powerful soul attacks were. He kept the red devil sword and waved both his hands continuously. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous palm prints separated from Ningyu's palms and blasted towards Hellion from all directions. To deal with soul attacks, one had to use soul attack spells. Chi chi chi. The cold light from Hulian's attack made contact with the universe palm and made sizzling sounds. The Universe Palm was the most powerful soul attack spell that Ningyu could use at his current stage. In order to seal Hellion, Ningyu waved his palms continuously, and a palm print appeared every second. The overwhelming palm prints blasted towards Hellion, causing him to feel a little overwhelmed. Ningyu, I admit that I underestimated you, but you definitely won't be so lucky next. With a low roar, Hulyin's body suddenly disappeared. Law of space. Seeing Hellion disappear, Ningyu hurriedly communicated with the law of space. Damn it! The message transmitted back by the law of space made Ningyu want to curse. It couldn't detect him. Although Hulyin's battle strength wasn't at the level of a grade 9 human supreme, his cultivation was at the level of a grade 9 human supreme, and his perception was also at the level of a grade 9 human supreme. After devouring so many royal grade origin crystals in the Devil's Cave, the law of space could already accurately detect the location of a peak grade 8 human supreme. If a grade 9 human supreme wanted to hide his aura, the law of space couldn't detect him at all. At this moment, Hellion appeared beside the Dark Emperor and punched towards his heart. At the critical moment, the Dark Emperor hurriedly dodged. Bang! Fortunately, the Dark Emperor moved his body to the side, causing Hulyin's fist to not land on his heart. It only landed on his chest. Even so, the Dark Emperor's aura started to weaken rapidly. Not bad, your reaction speed is quite fast, to be able to dodge my fatal blow. The corner of Hulyin's mouth curled up, and he said sinisterly, You won't be so lucky for the second punch. Wung. Following the last word, Hulyin's body became illusory again. Oh no! Seeing Hellion disappear, the Dark Emperor's heart skipped a beat. Was he really going to die here? The Dark Emperor could clearly feel that Hellion was rapidly approaching him at an extremely terrifying speed. Die! As expected, Hellion arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in a flash. He clenched his right fist and suddenly punched. Chapter 1159. Only You Rumble. Things were always developing in an unpredictable direction. When Hulyin's fist was close to the Dark Emperor's head, the entire 100-flower array began to shake violently. Not only did the 100-flower array shake, even the Sword of Evil spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. Such a change caused Hellion to be slightly stunned. Swish. However, it was this short 0.1 second that Hellion was caught by Ningyu. He only had one chance. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Ningyu arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in an instant. He first kicked the Dark Emperor away, then took out the Red Demon sword and slashed at Hellion. Whoosh! Ningyu had practically used his full strength in this slash. Hellion couldn't dodge in time and his right arm was pierced by the sword. Blood spurted out and flesh splattered everywhere. Ningyu, I'll turn your bones into ashes. Raising his head and letting out a furious roar, Hellion roared and charged at Ningyu without any regard for the consequences. Swish! Suddenly, there was a sudden change in the situation. A figure rapidly flashed before Hellion. Hellion, on the other hand, stopped on the spot. He opened his mouth and pointed at Ningyu with his right hand. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he fell to the ground. Plop! His body hit the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. Gulp! The sudden change made Ningyu swallow a mouthful of saliva uncontrollably. Hellion was a 9th-grade sovereign. Although his battle prowess had decreased, his overall strength was still terrifying. The cultivator that could kill Hellion with a single move must be at least a 9th-grade human supreme realm martial artist. At the thought of this, Ningyu hurriedly released his perception, wanting to detect who killed Hellion. Stop looking. I killed Hellion. Buzz. The void trembled, and then a figure slowly appeared in front of Ningyu. Hiss. Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air as he sensed the terrifying aura emanating from this figure. 9th-grade human supreme martial artist. The cultivation of this figure had reached the terrifying 9th-grade human supreme realm. Whoosh! Far away, palatial Lord Centaurea happened to kill the last elixir puppet. Her figure flashed and she arrived before Ningyu. Whoosh! The sword of evil dragged his heavy footsteps to Ningyu's side. In comparison, palatial Lord Centaurea still had a lot of combat strength left, while the sword of evil was heavily injured. After all, the sword of evil was in charge of reinforcing the 100-flower array. Yet, the 100-flower array had a hole blasted open by a 9th-grade human supreme. 100-flower array. I didn't expect to encounter the 100-flower array again. The 9th-grade sovereign squinted his eyes and said, "If I've guessed correctly, you guys should be from the Flower Palace. Let me introduce myself. I'm Fong Chong." The 9th-grade sovereign continued, "I didn't want to kill you guys, but you guys killed so many elixir puppets. If I don't kill you guys, I won't be able to appease the public. So, I'm sorry. Since you know that this is the 100-flower array, then you should know that it's impossible for you to break it with your strength." Palatial Lord Centaurea wasn't scared by Fong Chong at all. "Haha, I can't break it?" Fong Chong smiled and said, "I'm curious. Since I can't break the 100-flower array, how can I leave the pill cave and enter the 100-flower array?" "Let me answer," the sword of evil said in a deep voice as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "The reason why you can break the 100-flower array is because there are many elixir puppets in the pill cave helping you. If you still can't enter the 100-flower array with their help, then I can't help but doubt your intelligence." "Good, very good. So what if I tell you, because of the other faction, this pill cave is the last chance for us, the pro-war faction?" Fong Chong continued, "If we can't break it soon, the Eastern Expedition Army will move to another place to continue the war. At that time, we'll have to fight the elixir puppets endlessly. That's not something that we, the pro-war faction, want to see. Fong Chong, don't be arrogant. I've already strengthened the 100-flower array and the seal on the pill cave's entrance. In other words, you've lost the protection of the elixir puppets," the sword of evil said coldly. "Although you're a 9th-grade sovereign, I believe that as long as we slowly grind you down, we'll kill you sooner or later." "Ha ha ha!" Fong Chong seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world as he raised his head and laughed. Then, he coldly said, "I'll stand here and see how you're going to kill me." "Palatial Lord Centaurea, how confident are you in fighting Fong Chong?" After listening to the conversation between Fong Chong and the sword of evil, Ningyu asked in a low voice with a grave expression. Fong Chong was a 9th-grade sovereign. Unless his cultivation reached 4th-grade sovereign, Ningyu wouldn't dare to fight Fong Chong. The difference in strength between them was too great. If they fought, they would definitely die. "Ningyu, it's all up to you to kill Fong Chong," the palatial Lord Centaurea said in a deep voice. "All up to me? What do you mean?" Ningyu was slightly stunned as he asked in confusion. He was only a 3rd-grade sovereign. How could he kill Fong Chong? No matter how he thought about it, it didn't seem realistic. "There's still some energy left in the 100-flower array. I'll transfer all of it to you. Then, you'll fight Fong Chong. Whether we can defeat him, save Danwu College, and save ourselves, it's all up to you." The palatial Lord Centaurea didn't wait for Ningyu to reject her. She waved her hands continuously. As the palatial Lord Centaurea waved her hands, a terrifying energy suddenly appeared before her. Swish! More and more energy gathered, eventually forming a small vortex. The vortex tore through the void and suddenly drilled into Ningyu's body. Rumble! As the vortex entered his body, Ningyu's aura rose at an astonishing speed. Crack! Crack! Crisp sounds came from Ningyu's body. Ningyu's battle prowess had risen to the 8th-grade sovereign realm in a short period of time. His cultivation was only at 3rd-grade sovereign realm, but his battle prowess had reached the 8th-grade sovereign realm. Furthermore, Ningyu's battle prowess was still rising. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ning Yu's battle prowess broke through the 8th grade sovereign realm and reached the 9th grade sovereign realm. By then, he would be able to fight Fong Chang. You're courting death. Fong Chang wasn't a half-baked 9th grade sovereign like He Lian. He was extremely smart. In Fong Chang's opinion, no matter how strong Ning Yu's battle prowess was, it was impossible for him to fight him. However, Fong Chang knew that it was better to nip it in the bud. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Fong Chang suddenly charged at Ning Yu. I'll kill you as soon as possible before your strength reaches its peak to avoid future troubles. Sword of Evil, defend with all your might. You have to hold off Ning Yu for at least 3 minutes. The palatial Lord Centauria took a step forward and stood in front of Ning Yu, blocking Fong Chang's first attack. Bang! Chapter 1160. Fong Chang. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Fong Chang swept his gaze across Ning Yu after forcing the Centauria Palace master back with a single move. His eyes turned extremely cold. 3 minutes. From the aura emanating from Ning Yu's body, Fong Chang could clearly tell that Ning Yu would need at least 3 minutes to raise his battle prowess to the 9th grade supreme realm. In other words, he only needed to kill Ning Yu within 3 minutes, and all his problems would be solved. Fong Chang decided to kill the Centauria Palace master first before finding trouble with Ning Yu. If he handled it well, he might even have the chance to transfer the energy in Ning Yu's body into his own. Buzz. Fong Chang did not hesitate at all and attacked without hesitation. With a buzzing sound, Fong Chang's body gradually turned illusory. Not good. The Sword of Evil's expression changed drastically when he saw Fong Chang disappear. He hurriedly flew to Ning Yu's side. Venerable Sword Evil knew very well what the most important thing was. He had to protect Ning Yu. Only by protecting Ning Yu and raising Ning Yu's battle prowess to the 9th grade supreme realm in a short period of time would he have a chance to fight against Fong Chang. Otherwise, everyone would be finished today. As the Sword of Evil was close to Ning Yu, he arrived before Ning Yu first. Bang! It made no difference whether he arrived earlier or later. The result would be the same. The Sword of Evil's body fell backward like a kite with a broken string after taking Fong Chang's punch. The Sword of Evil's already weak body became even weaker after landing heavily on the ground. Can't even withstand a single blow. Fong Chang curled his lips and walked toward Ning Yu. He threw 2 punches in a row within a minute. The first punch sent Palatial Lord Centauria retreating. The second punch sent the Sword of Evil retreating. Fong Chang had originally wanted to throw a third punch, but when he saw the Dark Emperor, he immediately changed his mind. Fong Chang felt that he should capture Ning Yu first, as the Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring dog. If he refined the Dark Emperor, he would be able to refine a very effective medicinal pill. In any case, the Dark Emperor was only a middle-grade 3rd human sovereign, and his strength was on par with Ning Yu. In other words, Fong Chang did not place the Dark Emperor in his eyes at all. Whoosh! Fong Chang's speed increased, until he turned into a blur that appeared in front of Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. Ning Yu, you can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have. Surrender obediently and offer up your energy. Maybe I'll leave your corpse intact if I'm happy. The corners of Fong Chang's mouth rose as he said, otherwise, I will let you know what cruelty is. 2 more minutes. Ning Yu mumbled to himself after hearing Fong Chang's words. In just 2 minutes, Ning Yu would be able to raise his strength to the 9th grade martial sovereign realm. At that time, he might be able to face Fong Chang head-on. Roar! The Dark Emperor knew that he had to stop Fong Chang. Clenching his teeth, the Dark Emperor let out a roar into the sky as his figure rapidly expanded. In just a second, the Dark Emperor's figure grew a few times bigger, and a pair of purple-golden wings appeared on his back, flapping rapidly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Following the flapping of the purple-golden wings, two icy rays pierced through the sky toward Fong Chong. "You're courting death." Fong Chong stomped the ground and turned around. With a glare, two equally powerful icy rays appeared and collided with the icy rays from the Dark Emperor's fan. Whoosh! Whoosh! Four icy rays collided with one another, resulting in a sizzling sound. Following this, Fong Chang's figure moved swiftly, temporarily giving up on Ning Yu and attacking the Dark Emperor. Crack! Fong Chang's attack was ruthless as he slapped the purple-golden wings on the Dark Emperor's back. A crisp sound could be heard as the Dark Emperor's right wing broke. Fong Chong did not stop after his attack. He raised his right leg and kicked the Dark Emperor's left wing. Crack! The same crisp sound could be heard as the wing broke. In such a short period of time, the Dark Emperor's wings were broken. A hysterical roar came from the Dark Emperor's mouth. The wings were an important part of the Heaven-Devouring Hound's body. With the wings broken, the Heaven-Devouring Hound's strength would drop by 90%. The Dark Emperor was a purple-golden Heaven-Devouring Hound, and he was no exception. The Dark Emperor was no match for Fong Chong to begin with, and now that his strength had dropped by 90%, there was no way he could withstand Fong Chang's powerful attack. Whoosh! Whoosh! Fortunately, the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword of Evil dashed out at the same time and blocked Fong Chang's fatal blow for the Dark Emperor. Otherwise, Fong Chang's punch would have blasted the Dark Emperor's brains out. Puff! Puff! Although they blocked the fatal blow for the Dark Emperor, the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace and the Sword of Evil were heavily injured. Their auras were weak, and they were on the brink of death. The Sword of Evil and the Palace Master of the 100 Flowers Palace were in a critical situation. At this moment, even a true martial realm cultivator could kill the Sword of Evil and the others. A bunch of trash. I'll deal with you later. Another minute passed after Venerable Sword Evil and the others tossed and turned. As a 9th-grade human sovereign, Fong Chong would always leave some leeway. He wouldn't waste time to deal with Ning Yu, because it might lead to unpredictable changes. Ning Yu, you only have the strength of a pinnacle 8th-grade human sovereign, and I'm a 9th-grade human sovereign. How are you going to fight me? Fong Chang's lips curled into a smile. He clenched his right fist and punched at Ning Yu's divine sense. According to Fong Chang's guess, Ning Yu must have gathered all the energy in his divine sense. As long as he could destroy Ning Yu's divine sense, there was a high chance that he could transfer the energy into his own body. Energy that could allow a 3rd-grade human sovereign to fight a 9th-grade human sovereign was enough to make one's blood boil. Rumble! However, before Fong Chang's fist could reach Ning Yu's eyes opened, and a terrifying aura surged from his body. Fong Chong was slightly stunned, and he looked at Ning Yu with doubt. It had only been 2 minutes. Logically speaking, Ning Yu couldn't have refined all the energy. Ning Yu's strength should only be a pinnacle 8th-grade human sovereign. It's impossible for him to reach. F***ck. Feeling Ning Yu's aura reaching its peak, Fong Chong gnashed his teeth in anger. I've been tricked. Ning Yu's battle prowess had yet to reach the 9th-grade human sovereign realm. He was still at the peak of the 8th-grade human sovereign realm. If Ning Yu had the strength of a pinnacle 9th-grade human sovereign, Fong Chong might have some reservations. But now, Fong Chong was fearless. Sapling, you made me wait for so long. Ignoring the changes in Fong Chang's expression, Ning Yu couldn't help but curse. Ning Yu knew that the Sword of Evil and the others couldn't hold Fong Chong off for 3 minutes. Therefore, the moment he refined the energy, he started to contact the sapling, hoping that it could help him. After all, the sapling was the World Tree, and the World Tree had a fatal restraining effect on Dan Qi. Chapter 1161. Chapter 1161. Battle. Fong Chong, sometimes, cultivation does not represent strength. Since the sapling was willing to help, Ning Yu's worries were slightly alleviated. After devouring a large amount of royal-grade origin crystals in the Devil's Cave, the sapling's strength had improved greatly. Although it could not contend against a 9th-grade human sovereign in a one-on-one fight, with Ning Yu's help, it could go toe-to-toe with a 9th-grade human sovereign. Humph. Although cultivation does not represent strength, if your cultivation is too low, I don't believe you can be that strong. With a cold snort, Fong Chang's figure flashed and he charged at Ning Yu. Fong Chang did not know that Ning Yu had a sapling. In his opinion, Ning Yu was just stalling for time, pretending to be a big shot. Without fully refining the energy, Ning Yu's battle prowess could not possibly reach the 9th-grade human sovereign level. In other words, Ning Yu was no match for him. Chi. In order to kill Ning Yu quickly, Fong Chang used his full strength in his first move. Clenching his right hand into a fist, violent soul force coiled around it as he threw a punch at Ning Yu's head. Another soul attack. As a Soul Dan puppet, almost every attack Fong Chang threw was related to soul force. Fortunately, Ning Yu's soul force had reached the 7th-grade middle phase, or else Fong Chang's punch would have killed him on the spot. Poochie. Even though Ning Yu managed to tilt his head at the critical moment, his body was still hit by Fong Chang's punch. A tearing pain came from within his body, and the taste of blood in Ning Yu's throat became more obvious. In the end, the taste rushed to his mouth, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ha ha ha! Seeing Ning Yu's miserable state, Fong Chang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes are useless. Fong Chang, I admit that I underestimated you, but you won't be so lucky next. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ning Yu said in a low voice. Sigh, what's wrong with this world? Why are there so many stupid people? No matter how I kill them, I can't kill them all. Pitiful people must have something hateful about them. Sighing softly, Fong Chang's eyes flashed with coldness as he charged forward once more. In Fong Chang's eyes, Ning Yu was already a dead man. No one in the world could save him. Bang! 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 Each of Fong Chang's attacks could be said to be using his full strength. Each attack landed on Ning Yu's body, causing Ning Yu to be on the verge of collapsing. Why isn't he fighting back? Has Ning Yu lost his mind? In the distance, the Dark Emperor and the others said anxiously when they saw that Ning Yu was only defending and had no intention of fighting back. I don't think he's stupid. He's trying to buy time for us. Palatial Lord Centauria had a clearer view of the situation. Ning Yu clearly had the battle prowess of a pinnacle 8th-grade human supremacy, but he was willing to let Fong Chang hit him. There could only be one conclusion. Ning Yu was trying to buy time for them so that they could recover as soon as possible. Recover what? The Xingyang pills have all been devoured. If this goes on, everyone will die. The Dark Emperor said anxiously. The situation was clear. Ning Yu couldn't hold on for much longer, and they didn't have any Xingyang pills to replenish themselves. If there wasn't a better idea, everyone would be finished. At this moment, the Dark Emperor felt that death was so close to him. If Fong Chang was only a 8th-grade human supremacy, they could still put up a fight. But Fong Chang was a 9th-grade human supremacy. In front of a 9th-grade human supremacy, they were completely… what? Suddenly the situation changed. The Dark Emperor, Sword of Evil, and Palatial Lord Centauria had their mouths agape, their faces filled with shock. In the battlefield not far away, a dramatic scene happened. For the first dozen punches, Ning Yu had only been dodging. When Fong Chang's 20th punch was about to land on Ning Yu, a terrifying aura suddenly burst forth from Ning Yu's body. Clenching his right fist, he punched Fong Chang's chest while he was unprepared. Bang! The massive force that came from Fong Chang's chest sent him flying a few meters back. Whoosh! With his attack succeeding, Ning Yu chased after him. Ning Yu's speed was so fast that even the Sword of Evil and the rest couldn't detect Ning Yu's figure. In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu had appeared in front of Fong Chang. Take my punch! Clenching his right fist, Ning Yu's soul power and Yuan Qi wrapped around his wrist as he punched towards Fang Chang's head. Ning Yu had also used his full strength for this punch. Although he knew that he couldn't kill Fang Chang with his full strength, Ning Yu still had a plan. You're courting death. Due to his carelessness, Ning Yu's sneak attack had succeeded. Fang Chang gnashed his teeth in anger. A cold light flashed in Fang Chang's eyes as he punched out with his right hand, colliding with Ning Yu's fist. Letting you live for so long is my dereliction of duty. While punching out, Fang Chang gloomily said, "In your next life, remember that there are some pill puppets that you can't afford to provoke." Is that so? At the crucial moment, Ning Yu suddenly withdrew his right hand, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Ning Yu's actions caused Fang Chang to be slightly puzzled. What was he planning? This is the moment. While Fang Chang was puzzled, Ning Yu waved his hands repeatedly, and a cold light instantly flew out. This cold light was extremely fast, and it arrived before Fang Chang in an instant. Crack! The cold light brought with it a sharp gust of wind, directly chopping off Fang Chang's right hand. A hysterical scream rang out from Fang Chang's mouth. At this moment, Fang Chang's right hand was chopped off by the cold light. Rumble! The sudden change caused the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master to widen their mouths as they stood on the spot in a daze. Fang Chang's right hand was chopped off? Args! Continuous screams rang out from Fang Chang's mouth. Crack! His left hand turned into a palm, and before Ning Yu and the rest, Fang Chang chopped off his entire right arm. The reason why Fang Chang did this was because he noticed that his right arm had started to rot at a rapid pace. If he didn't chop off his right arm soon, his entire body might rot in a few more seconds. Chopping off his right arm could prevent this situation from happening. What a pity! Seeing how decisive Fang Chang was, Ning Yu shook his head and muttered, "A 9th-grade sovereign realm is truly different. He's not sloppy and indecisive when it comes to handling matters." Ning Yu was clear that aside from Fang Chang, any other 8th-grade sovereign realm sovereign would reconsider the previous situation, and they wouldn't abandon their right arm so quickly. Fang Chang's decisiveness proved that he was a formidable opponent. Ning Yu secretly raised his guard. Good, very good, very good. Clenching his left hand into a fist, Fang Chang coldly said, "You've crippled my arm, so I'll use your flesh and blood to reform my right arm. I'm a human, and you're a Dan and I. What does reforming your arm have to do with me?" Ning Yu said, "After losing your right arm, your battle prowess has dropped from a 9th-grade sovereign to a pinnacle 8th-grade sovereign. Right now, we're on the same level, so what makes you think that you can kill me?" Ah! Fang Chang raised his head and laughed with this. Chapter 1162. Find a Way. Shadow-Splitting Sword. Ning Yu stared at the silver sword in Fang Chang's hand, but before he could react, Palatial Lord Centauria shouted from the side. "What's a shadow-splitting sword?" the Dark Emperor asked. "Although it's only a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword, it's very special," the Palatial Master explained. As the name suggests, the shadow-splitting sword can split into countless swords, and every single one of them is a mid-grade monarch rank. Hiss! The Sword of Evil and the Dark Emperor gasped after hearing the Palatial Master's explanation. A mid-grade monarch rank flying sword wasn't scary, but countless of them. If the shadow-splitting sword was as powerful as the Palatial Master said, then the danger today would be much higher. Not bad. I didn't expect you to know your stuff. Sweeping a glance at the Palace Master, Fang Chang nodded his head and said, "This is the Shadow Clone Sword. I seized it from a 9th-grade human sovereign. Now I'll use it to kill you guys. Die with no regrets?" Ning Yu took a step forward with the red demon sword in hand and said coldly, "You're too arrogant to kill me with a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword." "I'm arrogant?" Fang Chang pointed at himself and said, "If I was arrogant, you'd be dead by now." As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Chang dashed out with the shadow-splitting sword in his hand. Whoosh! As he dashed out, Fang Chang brandished the Shadow Clone's sword in his hand. With a wave of the Shadow Clone sword, the original Shadow Clone sword split into 2, 2 into 4, and 4 into 8. Moreover, this division was still going on. In a short span of time, one Shadow Clone sword had already turned into 32 Shadow Clones. 32 shadow-splitting swords surrounded Ning Yu tightly in the middle, airtight. Attack! There was only one thought in Fang Chang's mind, and that was to kill Ning Yu as soon as possible. Whoosh! 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 Xiao! The 32 shadow-splitting swords did not come out in full force. Instead, 5 of them flew out and attacked Ning Yu from 5 different directions. Red Demon Sword. Ning Yu was not a hothead. Although the Shadow Clone sword was a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword, the Red Demon Sword was no pushover. Strictly speaking, the level of the Red Demon Sword was definitely superior to the Shadow Clone sword. Ding ding ding! 3 crisp sounds rang out as Ning Yu struck down the 3 swords. Swoosh! There were a total of 5 Shadow Clones. 3 of them were struck down by Ning Yu's Red Demon Sword, while the remaining 2 swiftly arrived in front of Ning Yu and pierced fiercely towards Ning Yu's heart. Ding! Ding! The same crisp sound rang out. What happened next caused Fang Chang's mouth to gape. He was a little dumbfounded. Fang Chang realized that the remaining 2 flying swords couldn't even pierce through Ning Yu's heart. What was going on? Fang Chang was puzzled. Ning Yu was only a 3rd-grade supreme martial artist. Why was his body so freakishly tough? It's all thanks to the phantom armor. Ning Yu took out another Xingyang pill, threw it into his mouth, and chewed slowly. The phantom armor was a defensive monarch rank armor. A mere mid-grade monarch rank flying sword couldn't break it at all. Go! Everyone, go! Fang Chang refused to believe it. He roared after the 5 Shadow Clone swords were struck down in the first round. Fang Chang didn't believe that Ning Yu had such a strong defense. If that was the case, Ning Yu definitely wouldn't be so afraid. Swoosh! The remaining 27 Shadow Clone swords flew out uniformly and arrived in front of Ning Yu in an instant. Ning Yu wasn't someone who relied solely on the phantom armor. On one hand, he relied on the phantom armor to deal with the Shadow Clone swords, and on the other hand, he waved the Red Demon Sword to fight the Shadow Clone sword. Ding ding ding, almost every few seconds, a Shadow Clone sword would be struck down. In just a few minutes, out of the 27 Shadow Clone swords, only 2 were left. Ah! Fang Chang couldn't take it anymore. He stomped on the ground, grabbed one of the Shadow Clone swords, and attacked Ning Yu. As for the other Shadow Clone sword, it was fighting with the Red Demon Sword. The Red Demon Sword was a flying sword that had a spiritual body, and it was controlled by the Red Demon Sword. The Shadow Clone swords were only mid-grade monarch rank flying swords. They were far from giving birth to a spiritual body, so how could they be a match for the Red Demon Sword? The result was obvious. Not long after, the Shadow Clone swords were struck down by the Red Demon Sword, and they lost their ability to fight. Without the protection of the Red Demon Sword, Ning Yu's ability to fight decreased slightly. He didn't have much confidence against Fang Chang, who had a mid-grade monarch rank flying sword. Sapling, it's up to you now. It wasn't scary if you weren't confident. What was scary was not having a chance. Clearly, Ning Yu wasn't that kind of person. After using the phantom armor to block Fang Chang's powerful attack, Ning Yu flicked his sleeves and threw the sapling out. The Shadow Clone sword struck the phantom armor, but just like before, they didn't break it. It's a defensive armor. Fang Chang had just realized that Ning Yu was wearing a defensive armor when the sapling arrived in front of him. Not good. Fang Chang was no fool. When the sapling attacked him just now, he had vaguely guessed the sapling's true identity. He just didn't have any concrete evidence. Now that he saw the sapling again, Fang Chang was finally sure that the sapling was the World Tree. The World Tree had a fatal suppressive effect on Dan Zhong. No wonder Ning Yu always looked so confident. You want to use the World Tree to defeat me? It won't be that easy. Since the World Tree had a fatal suppressive effect on Dan Zhong had been researching how to counter the sapling for many years. After several hundred years of research, Dan Zhong had finally found a way to counter the World Tree. Possession. Only by possessing a body and temporarily breaking away from Dan Zhong's identity could he achieve a large degree of immunity against the World Tree. Otherwise, he might very well be killed by the World Tree today. Feng Chang was very clear about the terror of the World Tree. Whether or not he could counter the World Tree would depend on this method. Thinking of this, Feng Chang's eyes flickered, and finally stopped on the Sword of Evil. The 100 Flowers Palace Mistress was a woman, the Dark Emperor was a dog, and Ning Yu had the aura of the World Tree. From this, it seemed that only one person was the best choice. The Sword of Evil. As long as he could possess Dan Zhong quickly, he could counter the sapling. Feng Chang gritted his teeth and charged at the Sword of Evil. Sword of Evil, retreat. Ning Yu knew what Feng Chang was thinking. He squeezed his mouth and shouted, "Run!" Raising his eyebrows, Feng Chang said sinisterly, "In front of me, you won't even have the chance to escape." Chi. Feng Chang knew the severity of the situation. He exerted all his strength in order to reach Sword Nefarious as soon as possible so that he could possess Sword Nefarious' body. Damn it! Phantom armor! Seeing that Feng Chang was determined to possess the Sword of Evil, Ning Yu cursed in his heart. He quickly took off the phantom armor and threw it at the Sword of Evil. Pa! Chapter 1163. A Trap. Ah! Feng Chang let out a hysterical roar when he saw the phantom armor on the Sword of Evil. Feng Chang's lungs were about to explode from anger. If he couldn't possess the Sword of Evil, he wouldn't be able to deal with the World Tree. If he couldn't deal with the World Tree, his life would be in danger. I have to possess him. Feng Chang's eyes flickered as he scanned his surroundings. Swoosh. Suddenly, Feng Chang's gaze landed on the Dark Emperor. I'm the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor cursed when he saw Feng Chang staring at him strangely. I'm AF King Dog. How dare you try to possess me? In order to stop Feng Chang from possessing him, the Dark Emperor admitted that he was a dog. Swoosh. However, even if the Dark Emperor admitted that he was a dog, it wouldn't change anything. Feng Chang tore through the void and arrived before the Dark Emperor. Buzz. His body gradually turned illusory as he turned into an afterimage and entered the Dark Emperor's body. Damn it! Ning Yu couldn't help but curse when he saw Feng Chang enter the Dark Emperor's body. The Dark Emperor was only a third-grade intermediate human supreme. Rather than letting Feng Chang possess the Dark Emperor, he might as well let Feng Chang possess the Sword of Evil. After all, the Sword of Evil was an 8th-grade intermediate human supreme. His senses were much stronger than the Dark Emperor's. But now, Ning Yu had no other choice. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu said in a deep voice, "Sword of Evil, Palace Master Bai Hua, think of a way to seal the underground pill cavern to prevent any future troubles. Then, protect me." Ning Yu also turned into an afterimage and entered the Dark Emperor's body. The Sword of Evil and the Dark Emperor exchanged glances. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. They wanted to help Ning Yu, but just as Ning Yu thought, they had no other choice but to take the risk. Go and protect Ning Yu. I'll activate the remaining 100 flowers array. I'll be able to seal the pill cavern in half an hour at most. Palatial Lord Centauria was very strict in her work. She got the Sword of Evil to protect Ning Yu while she sealed the pill cavern. This way, he could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he cut off the connection between the pill cavern and the outside world, he could also ensure that Ning Yu was safe and sound. Be careful. After saying this, the Sword of Evil leaped to Ning Yu's side. Using his powerful perception, the Sword of Evil paid close attention to the changes in his surroundings. If there was even the slightest movement, he would react immediately. At the same time, within the Dark Emperor's body. To be more precise, it was in the Dark Emperor's Sea of Consciousness. Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, and Feng Chang. The three of them were in a triangular formation. Among them, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were in the same camp, while Feng Chang was in a separate camp. How could it be that easy to take over my body? The Dark Emperor said fiercely. Feng Chang, I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, I will devour you. Feng Chang licked his lips and said coldly, anyone that I, Feng Chang, have set my eyes on will never be able to escape from my palm. I'm sorry. Ningyu shrugged and said, the Dark Emperor is a purple-gold sky-devouring hound, not a human. I think you might be mistaken. There's no difference between a human and a dog, Feng Chang said coldly. I have to remind you that the sapling can restrain you in the outside world. It can also restrain you in the Sea of Consciousness. Shaking his head, Ningyu waved his sleeves and the sapling appeared in front of him. Looking at the sapling in front of Ningyu, Feng Chang's expression was gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. In truth, Feng Chang knew better than anyone else. If he couldn't successfully take over the Dark Emperor before Ningyu, it would be impossible for him to succeed under Ningyu's nose. Since he couldn't restrain the World Tree through possession, he might as well try to tempt it. Ningyu, I'm the person in charge of the Eastern Expedition Army in the Great Xia Kingdom. As long as you promise not to use the World Tree to deal with me, I will give you a large number of unconscious pill puppets. Feng Chang rolled his eyes and said, in ancient times, the World Tree could devour and produce Xingyang pills. According to the records, the World Tree would drop a large number of Xingyang pills with a casual shake. Oh! Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said calmly, how many unconscious pill puppets do you have? Hand them all over, or you should know the consequences. I can't hand them over, because those unconscious pill puppets are all in the underground pill cavern. Feng Chang said. Don't talk to me about that. You have two choices right now. First, take out a large number of unconscious pill puppets for the sapling to devour. Second, die. As the word die fell, Ningyu's aura burst forth from his body and pressed down on Feng Chang. Ningyu, don't go too far. This is that darn dog's Sea of Consciousness. If we really fight, I have a way to destroy it. Feng Chang said coldly. The reason why I agreed to give you the unconscious pill puppets is because you are a talent. I want to, noisy. Ningyu's eyes turned cold as he dashed out. The reason why Feng Chang said so much was because he was worried in his heart. Once such thoughts were born, they would never go away. Ningyu grasped this opportunity and dashed out, throwing a punch at Feng Chang. Bam! A dull sound echoed as Ningyu's fist landed on Feng Chang's chest. Not good. Feeling the force of the punch, Ningyu hurriedly retreated. I've been tricked. Feng Chang's lips curled upward as he displayed his wisdom as the person in charge of the Great Xia Kingdom's Eastern Expedition Army. Feng Chang's figure turned illusionary as he appeared beside the Dark Emperor. He clenched his left fist and threw it at the Dark Emperor's head. Bang! The intense pain from his head caused the Dark Emperor's eyes to turn dull. Hee Ningyu, when I successfully possess this darn dog, it will be your death. A sinister laughter came from Feng Chang's mouth. Sapling! Ningyu knew the severity of the situation. He immediately communicated with the sapling, trying to get it to deal with Feng Chang. This was the Dark Emperor's Sea of Consciousness. There was no way he could fight Feng Chang head-on here. If Feng Chang gave up, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once his Sea of Consciousness was destroyed, the Dark Emperor would be done for. Whoosh! Hearing Ningyu's words, the sapling turned into a blur and appeared beside Feng Chang, slashing his left wrist. Gotcha! As soon as the sapling left, a crisp sound could be heard. How is this possible? Fong Chong lowered his head and looked at his palm. His mouth was agape, and his face was filled with disbelief. He had been too careless. Not long ago, Fong Chang's right hand was severed by the sapling, and now his left hand was severed in the same way. In just a few minutes, Fong Chong, a ninth-grade human sovereign, had lost both his left and right hand. After losing his right arm, Fong Chang's battle prowess dropped from ninth-grade human sovereign to eighth-grade pinnacle. Now that he had lost his left arm, Fong Chang's battle prowess dropped from eighth-grade pinnacle to seventh-grade pinnacle. Even if Ningyu didn't have the world tree, Fong Chong was still no match for Ningyu. Death was right in front of him. Chapter 1164. Changes may occur if we delay. I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the unconscious pill in your body. Otherwise, no one can save you. Since Fong Chong was only left with the strength of an initial phase 7th grade sovereign, Ningyu felt slightly relieved. With Fong Chang's combat strength, it was impossible for him to pose a substantial threat to Ningyu. Ha! Fong Chong threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Soon after, he coldly said, I've already told you that I don't have any pill puppets with me. I need to enter the pill cavern to help you find them. Without the unintentional knowledge pill puppet, there's no point in keeping you around. Curling his lips, Ningyu's figure gradually became illusory. Ningyu disappeared a moment ago, and then appeared in front of Fong Chong in the next moment. He clenched his right fist and punched at Fong Chang's heart. Ningyu had never held back against an extremely dangerous pill puppet like Fong Chong. Having lost both his hands, Fong Chong was no longer the same Fong Chong. How could Fong Chong be a match for Ningyu in his current state? The spirit is willing, but the strength is insufficient. Bang! Ningyu's fist smashed into Fong Chang's heart, sending him flying back several meters. Good chance. The Dark Emperor was waiting for this moment. Although he couldn't possess Fong Chong, he could refine Fong Chong. Fong Chong was a Soul Dan puppet. As long as he was completely refined, the Dark Sovereign's perception would experience a qualitative leap. In the future, even if he encountered a 9th grade sovereign, the Dark Emperor would be able to detect their exact location. And this ability could not be achieved by the law of space. The law of space could only detect the specific location of a peak 8th grade human supreme martial artist. 9th grade human supreme martial artist? Just a little bit more. Emperor of the Dark World, don't just focus on the direction of the devouring. Think of a way to pry open his mouth. I want to know how many Dan puppet there are in the pill cave below. Ningyu felt that it was necessary to remind the Dark Emperor. After all, Fong Chong was only one of the pill puppets. If he was killed, there was still the possibility of Yuan Chong or Jing Chong appearing. No problem. Give me 10 minutes. After saying this, the Dark Emperor fell silent and began to refine Fong Chong wholeheartedly. As for Ningyu, he left the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness with a flicker. Ningyu, where's Fong Chong? Seeing Ningyu emerge from the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness, the Sword of Evil said anxiously. In the Dark Emperor's sea of consciousness. Ningyu replied. Whoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Sword of Evil's expression changed drastically. Fong Chong was a 9th grade mortal sovereign. Wouldn't leaving him in the Dark Emperor's consciousness mean that the Dark Emperor would die? I'll go help. The Sword of Evil stomped his feet on the ground, ready to rush out. However, Nefarious Sword hadn't even charged out when Ningyu slapped him on the shoulder and said, Fong Chang's problem has been resolved. Go and recuperate. I'll see if the palace mistress has sealed the exit of the pill cave. Ignoring the Sword of Evil's reaction, Ningyu turned around and walked towards the palace master. Looking at Ningyu's departing figure, the Sword of Evil was dumbfounded. A 9th grade mortal sovereign, Fong Chong, was killed? At this moment, the Sword of Evil's expression was no different from seeing a ghost. Ningyu was an initial 3rd grade mortal sovereign. Although the Dark Emperor's cultivation was slightly higher than Ning Yu's, he was only a middle third-grade mortal sovereign. How could the two of them kill Feng Chang in such a short period of time? While the Sword of Evil was pondering, Ning Yu had already arrived beside the palace master. Looking at the beads of sweat on the palace master's forehead, Ning Yu asked, "Do you need Xingyang pills?" Lifting her head to look at Ning Yu, the palace master said, "If you still have more Xingyang pills, give me 3 more." Ning Yu's face darkened. The palace master really dared to say that. After a series of battles, he only had 3 Xingyang pills left. Originally, he had 5 Xingyang pills, but he used up 2 in the battle with Feng Chang. Now, Ning Yu only had 3 Xingyang pills. Ning Yu was a little speechless when the palace master asked for all of them. Here. However, since he had already said it, there was no reason for Ning Yu to go back on his words. With a flick of his wrist, the 3 Xingyang pills flew towards the palace master. Pa pa pa. Raising her right hand, the palace master held the 3 Xingyang pills firmly in her hand. "Thank you. Give me a moment and I'll be able to seal the underground elixir cave completely." After thanking her, the palace master tossed the 3 Xingyang pills into her mouth and chewed for refinement. Ning Yu's lips twitched. To be honest, 3 Xingyang pills weren't enough for the palace master to recover to her peak condition. The reason why Ning Yu handed the remaining 3 Xingyang pills to the palace master was because she was trying her best to seal the elixir cave. Whether the elixir cave could be sealed or not meant that Danwu College wouldn't be in danger. Ning Yu knew the severity of the matter. Therefore, he chose to hand the 3 Xingyang pills to the palace master. Drip, drip. Time passed by the seconds and minute. The Dark Emperor was refining Feng Chang. Ning Yu and the Sword of Evil were fully focused on recuperating while the palace master was busy sealing the elixir cave. Everything seemed to be progressing in an orderly manner. Russell. What Ning Yu and the rest didn't know was that in a dense forest to the west of the capital, a few figures rapidly streaked through the void. Not long later, those figures landed on a spacious clearing. Taking a closer look, there were a total of 4 cultivators, and the cultivation of these cultivators were all Grade 5 human sovereigns. A Grade 5 human sovereign wasn't terrifying. What was terrifying was that these 4 cultivators were 3 absolute geniuses. In other words, the battle prowess of these 4 cultivators could contend with an 8th grade human sovereign. Apart from the 3 absolute geniuses, the void was faintly trembling. Crack! The void trembled to its limits and suddenly split open. A black-robed old man appeared. "Great Desolation Venerable, we're about a dozen minutes away from the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom. Should we continue?" Seeing the black-robed old man, the 3 absolute geniuses were respectful and didn't even dare to speak loudly. Grade 9 human sovereign. This Great Desolation Venerable was also a Grade 9 human sovereign. Furthermore, Great Desolation Venerable's battle prowess was clearly stronger than Feng Chang's. That was because Great Desolation Venerable's cultivation was at the pinnacle of initial Grade 9 human sovereign, while Feng Chang was only an initial Grade 9 human sovereign. "The 4 of you go to the capital first. When you see Lu Wei, take her away immediately." Slightly frowning, Great Desolation Venerable said, "I'm going to meet an old friend. I hope you guys won't disappoint me." As he finished his words, Great Desolation Venerable's figure gradually turned illusory and soon disappeared. After Great Desolation Venerable left, one of the Grade 5 human sovereigns asked in doubt, "Great Desolation Venerable is a Grade 9 human sovereign. How can he have an old friend in a place like the Great Xia Kingdom?" "Don't be careless," another Grade 5 human sovereign said in a deep voice. "Some powerful cultivators have weird tempers. When they have no hope of advancing, they will return to their hometowns. Who knows, the old friend that Great Desolation Venerable is going to meet might be from the Great Xia Kingdom." Chapter 1165. Kill. Capital, Danwu College. In the courtyard. Boom. The Dark Emperor suddenly opened his eyes and his aura soared into the sky. Late-stage third-grade human sovereign. After 10 minutes of refining, the Dark Emperor had finally refined the 9th-grade mortal sovereign, Feng Chang. His cultivation also rose from mid-stage third-grade human sovereign to late-stage third-grade human sovereign. Who? Letting out a breath, the worry in the Dark Emperor's heart lessened slightly. To be honest, even the Dark Emperor found it unbelievable that he could refine Feng Chang in 10 minutes. After all, Feng Chang was a 9th-grade human sovereign, and it was extremely difficult to refine him. Right now, even if I encounter a late-phase 8th-grade sovereign, I will be able to confront and even kill him. Similar to Ningyu, the Dark Emperor was one of the 5 absolute geniuses. The 5 absolute geniuses weren't to be trifled with. It wasn't difficult for them to challenge those of a higher level. Ningyu, I have something to discuss with you. Feeling the energy ripple in his sea of consciousness, the Dark Emperor rolled his eyes and stood in front of Ningyu. I wonder if you have any extra Xingyang pills on you? 1. I only need 1 Xingyang pill. After refining Feng Chang, not only did the Dark Emperor raise his cultivation to late-stage 3rd-grade human sovereign, he was only half a step away from peak 3rd-grade human sovereign. In other words, if the Dark Emperor was given some extra energy, there was a high chance that he could reach peak 3rd-grade human sovereign. Do you think I can mass-produce Xingyang pills? Opening his eyes, Ningyu rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor. I've used up all the Xingyang pills on me. If you need more, ask me 3 days later. It'll be too late by then. The Dark Emperor was a little disappointed. This was the best chance for him to reach peak 3rd-grade human sovereign. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. What cucumber or cow? Let me ask you, did you manage to get any useful information from Feng Chang? Ningyu asked. After organizing his thoughts, the Dark Emperor asked, What news do you wish to know? Nonsense, what else could it be? Are there any more powerful pill puppets in the underground pill cave? Ningyu rolled his eyes. This, you don't have to worry about it. According to the information that I obtained from Feng Chang, the Eastern Expedition Army in Danzhong had already retreated from the Great Xia Kingdom. After recalling for a while, the Dark Emperor said, however, there's one thing I can be sure of. You're already in the top 10 of the must-kill list in Dan Ming's Eastern Expedition Army. There's a must-kill list in the pill furnace? Ningyu asked, puzzled. Of course. All the humans who are able to make it onto the must-kill list are all extremely sick with high cultivation states. Only you have the lowest cultivation state. The Dark Emperor nodded his head. Seal. Right at this moment, the palace master waved her hands repeatedly while she shouted in a low voice. As Palatial Mistress Bai Hua shouted, the situation in the courtyard changed. Instantly, all the primal energy gathered in front of her. The Yuan Qi gathered into a small vortex. The vortex grew bigger and bigger. In the end, it drilled into the ground and disappeared in front of Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. After the vortex disappeared, Palatial Mistress Bai Hua's vision blurred and she fell to the ground. Swish! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught Palatial Mistress Bai Hua when she fell to the ground. I've already sealed the exit of the pill cave. I'm too tired. This soul force needs to sleep. Before she fainted, Palatial Mistress Bai Hua said, Also, remember your promise. If I don't wake up in a month, please make a trip to 100 Flowers Palace. Before she finished speaking, Palatial Mistress Bai Hua's eyes rolled and she fainted. Ningyu was a little speechless as he watched Palatial Mistress Bai Hua faint. The region where 100 Flowers Palace was located was extremely dangerous. With his current cultivation state, rushing to 100 Flowers Palace was undoubtedly courting death. I hope you can wake up in a month, Ningyu murmured. You better stay away from me. Suddenly, Palatial Mistress Bai Hua, who was in Ningyu's arms, opened her eyes and said coldly, Otherwise, I'll cripple you. Hiss. Hearing Palatial Mistress Bai Hua's words, Ningyu couldn't help but shiver and quickly retreated. No, you're not Palatial Mistress Bai Hua. You're Xielan. Just after taking a few steps back, Ningyu came to his senses. All this while, Xielan's body had been controlled by Palatial Mistress Bai Hua. Now that Palatial Mistress Bai Hua was heavily injured and urgently needed to recuperate, the control of her body was naturally returned to Xielan. Of course I'm Xielan. Xielan said in a low voice. I need royal-grade origin crystals, a large amount of royal-grade origin crystals. Although her cultivation had reached the middle phase 8th grade sovereign realm, Xielan knew that her cultivation wasn't stable. Only by refining more royal-grade origin crystals would she be able to completely stabilize her cultivation state. She didn't expect that handing over control of her body to Palatial Mistress Bai Hua would allow her to quickly reach intermediate 8th grade sovereign. In the past, Xielan wouldn't have dared to imagine that she could reach intermediate 8th grade sovereign in such a short period of time. I don't have any more royal grade origin crystals. Shrugging, Ningyu said. Although this was a cruel reality, Ningyu had no choice but to face it. Right now, not to mention royal-grade origin crystals, Ningyu didn't even have a single king-grade origin crystal on him. Are you sure you're not joking with me? Xielan exclaimed. Xielan knew very well that Ningyu had a lot of Xingyang pills and royal-grade origin crystals. Now that he said he didn't have any royal-grade origin crystals, who would believe him? It's up to you whether you believe me or not. Shrugging, Ningyu said, your cultivation state isn't very stable yet. I advise you to find a place to recuperate and stabilize your cultivation state in a few hours. I don't need you to teach me. Glaring at Ningyu, Xielan stomped on the ground and flew out of the courtyard. Seeing Xielan leaving, Ningyu did not stop him. After all, the pill cave had been sealed and the experts of the Corpse Een sect and the Blood God Palace had been eliminated. In such a huge capital, Xielan could do whatever she wanted as long as he, Venerable Sword Evil, and the others didn't do anything. If an intermediate 8th grade sovereign couldn't dominate the capital, then it would be a little ridiculous. Boom. However, reality had proven that some words were better left unsaid. Just as this thought rose in Ningyu's mind, he saw a figure rushing over from outside the courtyard and landing heavily on the ground. Xielan. This figure was none other than Xielan, the 8th grade middle human supreme realm Xielan. The sudden change had caused Ningyu's face to turn dark. The experts of the Blood God Palace, Corpse Sect and Pill Puppet in the Great Xia Kingdom had all been dealt with. Who else could harm Xielan? Xielan spewed out a mouthful of blood and his aura weakened. From an intermediate 8th grade sovereign to an initial 8th grade sovereign, it was still dropping. Rustle. 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 Chapter 1166. Merciless, who? Looking at the four figures that suddenly appeared, Ningyu's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. Although the four cultivators in front of him didn't have high cultivation, only a 5th grade human supreme, Ningyu knew that their battle prowess wasn't weak. It doesn't matter who we are. What's important is that you know Lu Wei. The leading young man smiled and said. Swoosh. Hearing that, Ningyu's face completely darkened. So the target of these four cultivators wasn't Xielan or him, but Lu Wei. If I'm not wrong, you should be from the Sacred Heaven sect, Ningyu said in a low voice. Clap, clap, clap. The young man who spoke just now clapped his hands and said, That's right, we are indeed from the Sacred Heaven sect. If you know what's good for you, hand over Lu Wei as soon as possible because we don't want to kill. Otherwise, speaking up to this point, the young man's eyes became extremely cold and he suddenly unleashed his aura. Rumble. An extremely terrifying aura emanated from the young man and pressed down on Ningyu. Peak 5th grade human supreme, a triple ultimate genius. Feeling the terrifying aura emanating from the young man, Ningyu's eyes narrowed. Swoosh. At this moment, the Dark Emperor's 4 hooves stomped on the ground and his body instantly shot out. Roar. Letting out a loud roar, the Dark Emperor's aura also emerged and collided with the young man's aura. TSK TSK. When the two terrifying auras collided, even the void let out a sizzling sound. Purple gold sky devouring hound. As a peerless genius of the Sacred Heaven sect, Zhou Shi had done some research on sky-devouring hounds. Because the Sacred Heaven sect had a sky-devouring hound. Now that he saw a purple gold sky-devouring hound, Zhou Shi made up his mind. Capture it alive. No matter what, he had to capture this purple gold sky-devouring hound and bring it back to the Sacred Heaven sect. Perhaps the sky-devouring hound of the Sacred Heaven sect would reward him with a lot of cultivation resources. The 3 of you go and deal with Ningyu. Remember, you must force Lu Wei's whereabouts. Zhou Ba cracked his neck and said, As for this purple gold sky-devouring hound, leave it to me. As soon as the word pei was uttered, Zhou Bu's figure gradually became illusory. In an instant, he appeared in front of the Dark Emperor and started fighting with him. The Dark Emperor was a 3rd-grade human supremacy stage genius, while Zhou Shi was a 3rd-grade human supremacy stage genius. Logically speaking, there was not much of a difference in their strength. However, Zhou Shi was a peak 5th-grade human sovereign, while the Dark Emperor was only a late 3rd-grade human sovereign. There was a small grade difference between the two, causing the Dark Emperor to be at a disadvantage. Ningyu, tell me where Lu Wei is, or I'll show you why flowers are so red. The battle between Zhou Sei and the Dark Emperor did not affect the other 3 5th-grade human supreme martial artists. Among the 3 5th-grade human sovereigns, one was a peak 5th-grade human sovereign, while the other 2 were late 5th-grade human sovereigns. The martial artist who spoke was called Gao Lin, a peak 5th-grade human supreme. I have a question. Glancing at the Dark Emperor's battlefield, Ningyu said in a deep voice, Why do you guys have to find Lu Wei? Why is the Divine Heaven sect looking for Lu Wei? In order to find Lu Wei, the Divine Heaven sect had sent experts to the Great Xia Kingdom time and time again. In total, there had been 3 to 4 times. Other than the first time, Ningyu had been by Lu Wei's side for the rest of the times. Otherwise, with Lu Wei's combat strength, she would have been captured long ago. I'm sorry, I can't tell you about this. Pouting, Gao Lin said, If you want to know, you can return to the Divine Heaven sect with us. Sword of Evil, how much combat strength do you have now? Return to the Divine Heaven sect with Gao Lin? What a joke. Ningyu had never thought about this. The reason why he asked Gao Lin was because he wanted to buy some time for the sword Devil Venerable to recover. Actually, before Gao Lin and the others appeared, the Sword of Evil was about to recover to its peak. However, the appearance of Gao Lin and the others caused some trouble for the Sword of Evil's recovery, causing the 1-minute recovery time to be increased to 2 minutes. If I make a move now, I can easily kill those 2 late phase 5th-grade sovereigns. But for the remaining 2 pinnacle 5th-grade sovereigns, I can only contend with them, but not kill them. The Sword of Evil answered. Make a move now, we can't wait any longer. Ningyu knew the severity of the problem. Killing one was one. If an even more powerful expert appeared later, wouldn't they have to bear the consequences? So kill if you can, and don't hold back. Anyway, the Divine Heaven sect definitely didn't have good intentions in capturing Lu Wei. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent so many people. Moreover, each time they came, their cultivation would be higher and stronger. If this continued, the next time, there would probably be a 9th-grade human supreme. No problem. The Sword of Evil responded. His eyes turned cold and his body dashed out. Oh no, retreat. Gao Lin's perception was not weak. Before the Sword of Evil made a move, he didn't know how strong the Sword of Evil was. Now that the Sword of Evil had made a move, he realized the severity of the problem. The Sword of Evil's strength was not weaker than his. In some sense, the Sword of Evil was slightly stronger than him. After all, the Sword of Evil was a genuine peak 8th grade human supreme. Swoosh. Swoosh. Gao Lin's words were very effective. The other two peak 5th grade human supreme retreated immediately after hearing Gao Lin's words. In the Divine Heaven sect, Gao Lin was famous for his powerful perception. For Gao Lin to make a move, it was enough to show that the Sword of Evil was not weak. Poof. Poof. However, it was already too late for the Sacred Heaven sect's 5th grade supreme martial artist to retreat. The Sword of Evil was quick to react. He came in front of them in an instant, clenched his fists, and suddenly punched out. The two fists brought with them a violent primordial chi wind, and hit the chests of the two peak 5th grade human supreme. With a muffled sound, the two peak 5th grade human supremes spat out a big mouthful of blood at the same time, and their aura dropped sharply. Swoosh. At this time, a fierce look appeared in Ningyu's eyes, and he immediately dashed out. Holding the red demon sword, Ningyu stabbed down fiercely. Stab. Stab. There was some primordial chi jumping on the red demon sword. Under the horrified gazes of the two peak 5th grade human supreme, the sword stabbed into their hearts. Buzz. A terrifying devouring force erupted from the red demon sword. In just a few seconds, the two late-stage 5th grade supreme martial artists from the Sacred Heaven sect were completely devoured and turned into two pieces of meat. Whoosh. The sudden change caused Zhou Se and Gao Lin to stop in their tracks. Their mouths were wide open, and they stared at the flesh under Ningyu's feet in disbelief. Their eyes were full of horror. Gulp. After a while, Zhou Se and Gao Lin swallowed at the same time. Before they came, they would never have imagined that their two late 5th grade Sovereign Realm companions would be killed in such a short period of time. Chapter 1167. A String of Three Crack Crack. Clenching their fists, Zhou Se and Gao Lin looked at each other and saw the deep anger in each other's eyes. In the Divine Heaven sect, the four of them had a very good relationship. Now that two of their companions were killed, how could they tolerate it? However, seeing the Sword of Evil beside Ningyu, Zhou Se and the others looked gloomy and didn't make a move immediately. Ningyu, I'm asking you one last time. Lu Wei, are you going to hand over or not? Taking a deep breath, Zhou Se said in a deep voice. Noisy. Ningyu said indifferently. However, in the ears of Zhou Se and the others, it sounded so gloomy. Sword of Evil, don't leave anyone alive. Kill them without mercy. Understood. Sword of Evil nodded and moved toward Zhou Se and the others step by step. Looking at the Sword of Evil approaching him, Gao Lin's eyes flickered and he said in a low voice, What should we do? Except for Ningyu, kill them without mercy. With a low shout, Zhou Se rose from the ground and was the first to rush toward the Sword of Evil. Relatively speaking, Zhou Se's strength was much stronger than before. Gao Lin might still be afraid of the Sword of Evil, but Zhou Se was not. In Zhou Se's opinion, the Sword of Evil couldn't do anything to him. At most, they could be evenly matched. He would hold off the Sword of Evil while Gao Lin dealt with the Dark Emperor and Ningyu. There was nothing wrong with that. Swoosh. With Zhou Se defending him against the Sword of Evil, the pressure in Gao Lin's heart was relieved a little. With the pressure reduced and the worries gone, Gao Lin rushed out instantly and waved his hands. Suddenly, a fist radiance flew out and arrived in front of Ningyu in a flash. Facing such a horrifying palm print, Ningyu didn't dare to be careless. He clenched his right hand into a fist and slashed down a heavenly sword radiance. Bang! The sword radiance and the fist radiance collided and both disappeared between heaven and earth. Not bad. Very good. But you won't be so lucky next. He was evenly matched with Ningyu in one move, but Gao Lin was not angry. Instead, he punched out again. Bang! With the same movement, Ningyu waved the red demon sword and the sword radiance touched the palm print for the second time. Without a doubt, the sword radiance and the palm print disappeared for the second time. We can't continue like this. Gao Lin was not a pushover. 2 consecutive palm prints failed to force Ningyu back, so he came up with a plan. Since I can't defeat you, then I'll go find your friend. Gao Lin was not sloppy at all. He blasted out another palm print to force Ningyu back, and then his whole body turned into a residual shadow, rushing toward Xialan. When they first arrived, Xialan had already been defeated by them. As long as they could capture Xialan, why would Ningyu not submit? Other than Ningyu, he could also go to Danwu College to capture some students. He believed that Ningyu would be very cautious. Oh no! Xialan, run! Seeing Gao Lin turn around and rush toward Xialan, Ningyu shouted in a hurry. Run? Where are you going? In the process of running, Gao Lin didn't forget to look back and taunt. I forgot to tell you. This girl has been poisoned by the divine heaven sect's unique poison. Even if I don't kill her, she won't live for more than a few days. But Gao Lin came to Xialan's side in an instant. He grabbed Xialan's shoulder and lifted her up. Ningyu, I will ask you one last time. Lu Wei, are you going to hand her over or not? Gao Lin said coldly. Ningyu's face was extremely gloomy. Ningyu knew that if he dared to say no, Gao Lin would kill Xialan immediately. Damn it, how could I forget about Xialan? Cursing, Ningyu began to communicate with the law of space and the sapling. As time went by, the corners of Ningyu's mouth gradually lifted into a smile. Ha ha ha! In the end, Ningyu even laughed out loud. Have you lost your mind? Seeing Ningyu laugh, Gao Lin was slightly stunned. His companion was about to be killed, and he could still laugh? How big of a heart was he? Ningyu, since you don't care about her life or death, I will send her to the next world. Ignoring Ningyu's laughter, Gao Lin exerted some force in his right hand and threw Xialan into the air. Then, a cold gleam shot out from his eyes and went straight for Xialan. Crack! However, just as the cold gleam shot out from Gao Lin's eyes, the space around Xialan suddenly cracked. After the space cracked, Xialan was naturally swallowed by the void. What's going on? Such a change was obviously beyond Gao Lin's expectations. His goal was to kill Xialan and deter Ningyu. But now, not only did Xialan fail to kill Ningyu, but she also failed to deter Ningyu. Let me tell you what happened. Ningyu took a step forward and came before Gao Lin in the blink of an eye. He said calmly, although your cultivation level is 2 levels higher than mine, in terms of the attainment of space, you and I are too far apart. You mean, you were the one who saved that woman? Gao Lin's mouth was agape, and his face was full of disbelief. You're not that stupid. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders. Soon after, he gripped the red demon's sword and slashed through the air, ruthlessly slashing at Gao Lin's neck. Although Gao Lin was a peak-level 5th-grade human supreme genius, Ningyu had already convinced the law of space and the sapling to help Ningyu. With the help of the law of space and the sapling, Ningyu was not afraid of Gao Lin. In the process of advancing, Ningyu and the red demon's sword disappeared at the same time. Buzz. The next moment, Ningyu appeared in front of Gao Lin with the red demon's sword in his hand. Slash. Holding the red demon's sword tightly, Ningyu wrapped all the primordial chi and soul power in his sea of consciousness around the red demon's sword and slashed at Gao Lin's neck with a backhand. Ningyu's slash was extremely powerful. Not to mention Gao Lin, even Zhou Sei might not be able to withstand it. No. Looking at the flying sword that was approaching him, Gao Lin's pupils shrank and his eyes were full of fear. Crack! How could Ningyu let go of Gao Lin? When dealing with an enemy, one could not show any mercy. Ningyu's all-out attack was very powerful. Under Gao Lin's terrified gaze, the red demon's sword pierced into his neck. Then, Ningyu exerted a little force, and a horrible devouring power burst out from the red demon's sword. The devouring power quickly divided into 2 and instantly swallowed Gao Lin, a peak-level 5th-grade human supreme. What? When Zhou Sei saw that Gao Lin was easily killed, His expression changed dramatically. Bang! Zhou Sei's momentary daze allowed the sword of evil to seize the opportunity. When experts exchanged blows, even the slightest bit of distraction could cause one's body to shatter into pieces. Zhou Sei was fine. He was only hit by the sword of evil's sneak attack, but it was not a big deal. Ningyu, you killed 3 of my companions. At this point, Zhou Sei became calm, so calm that it was a little scary. Zhou Sei said calmly, our target is Lu Wei, not you. However, because of your stupidity, you have become the target of the Sacred Heaven sect. Chapter 1168. Clones. Ha ha ha. Hearing Ningyu's words, Zhou Shi threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, he changed the topic and said coldly, do you think you can fight me after killing 3 of my companions? To be honest, you're too naive. Am I naive? Ningyu frowned slightly. You only have 1, but we have 3. Swoosh. Swoosh. The evil sword Venerable and the Dark Emperor flew to Ningyu's side and stood on either side. You have helpers, so do I. Zhou Shi's tone was emotionless as he spoke. With that, Zhou Bei waved his sleeve and a crystal ball appeared in his hand. Crack! Raising his right hand, Zhou Shi threw the crystal ball to the ground. With a crisp sound, the crystal ball exploded. Swoosh! As the crystal ball exploded, an illusory figure emerged from the void. Hiss! Ningyu and Venerable Sword Evil sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the illusory figure that suddenly appeared. A 9th-grade human supreme martial artist. The aura emitted from the illusory figure had reached the terrifying 9th-grade human supreme martial artist. Humph! You always make me worry. After the 9th-grade human supreme martial artist appeared, he scanned the surroundings and snorted. Have your identities been exposed? Apart from the people in this courtyard, no one knows that we're from the Divine Heaven sect, Zhou Shi replied hurriedly. Bang! The illusory figure flicked his sleeve and a cold light flew out, hitting Zhou Shi's chest. The tremendous force that came from his chest sent him flying backward and crashing heavily into the ground. Our identities cannot be exposed. To be safe, let's slaughter everyone from Dongwu College. Don't let anyone go, the illusory figure said coldly. Venerable Great Desolation, don't worry. I know what to do. Although he was hit by the illusory figure, Zhou Shi didn't even dare to breathe heavily and replied respectfully. Venerable Great Desolation was a 9th-grade human supreme martial artist. Zhou Shi was worlds apart from Venerable Great Desolation. He definitely wouldn't dare to challenge Venerable Great Desolation. Buzz! Zhou Sei tore through the void and dashed out of the courtyard. Wait! Seeing that Zhou Shi wanted to leave, Ningyu took a step forward and scolded. You want to leave? Have you asked for our permission? If I want to leave, I'll leave. What can you do about it? Zhou Shi curled his lips and said disdainfully. If the Great Desolation Reverend wants to kill you, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. Stop bragging. If the true body of the Great Desolation Reverend were here, I would run away immediately, but, as he spoke, Ningyu briefly paused before he continued, this Great Desolation Venerable is only a clone. Although his aura is comparable to a 9th-grade sovereign, his overall strength is only at the pinnacle of 8th-grade sovereign. Rumble! Ningyu's words made Zhou Shi's heart sink to the bottom. He had thought that his acting skills were good enough to deceive Ningyu. Who would have thought that Ningyu was even more astute than him, seeing through the true nature of the Venerable of Great Wilderness. This Venerable of Great Wilderness was indeed a clone, and his strength was only at the pinnacle of 8th-grade sovereign. In fact, he was even slightly weaker than him. Ningyu, although this is the clone of the Great Desolation Reverend, his perception is at the pinnacle of 9th-grade sovereign, and his battle experience is also at the pinnacle of 9th-grade sovereign. Zhou Shi said in a deep voice, If I join hands with the Great Desolation Reverend, killing you will be as easy as pie. Aren't you afraid that your tongue will be bitten by the wind? After a cold voice, Ningyu turned around and said, Sword of Evil, you deal with the clone of the Great Desolation, Reverend. The Dark Emperor and I will deal with Zhou. No problem. Swordsman Evil Sword responded and stomped his feet on the ground. Then, he dashed forward. The Great Desolation Reverend was a 9th grade sovereign, while this clone only had the battle strength of a pinnacle of 8th grade sovereign. Although the Great Desolation Reverend had more battle experience, it would be extremely difficult for him to kill the Sword of Evil in a short period of time. Today we will fight side by side again. After exchanging glances with the Dark Emperor, Ningyu held the red demon's sword in his hand and instantly tore through the void to arrive before Zhou. Violent yuan qi was emitted from the red demon's sword as it slashed at Zhou's neck. Ningyu was aware of Zhou's strength, so he did not hold back and used his full strength in the first move. Whoosh! Seeing Ningyu's attack, the Dark Emperor's figure flickered and a pair of purple gold wings appeared on his back. The wings flapped rapidly and several gusts of wind swept out, attacking Zhou from the side with the help of Ningyu. Child's play. Obviously, Zhou did not take Ningyu and the Dark Emperor seriously. He curled his lips and waved his hands continuously. As Zhou waved his hands, the space in front of him suddenly cracked. Whoosh! As soon as the space cracked, Zhou entered it. Great! Zhou's sudden action made Ningyu overjoyed. To be honest, if Zhou were to fight them head-on, Ningyu did not have much confidence that he could kill him. Now that Zhou had entered the void and was trying to engage in guerrilla warfare, it had completely given Ningyu a chance. Law of Space. With a thought, Ningyu began to communicate with the Law of Space. Zhou was a peak 5th grade human supreme, a triple ultimate genius, but his senses had yet to reach the 9th grade human supreme realm. In this state, Zhou would not be able to hide from the Law of Space, regardless of whether he entered the void or not. Dark Emperor, 1 Zhang to the east, attack. After learning Zhou's exact location through the Law of Space, Ningyu pretended not to know before he transmitted his voice to the Dark Emperor. Whoosh! The Dark Emperor knew that even if he launched a sneak attack, he would not be able to kill Zhou. However, it would not be easy for Zhou to kill him either. Especially under such circumstances, Zhou would not be able to kill him, and he would have a chance to injure Zhou. He found me? Seeing the Dark Emperor flying towards him, Zhou's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. Zhou was very confident in his ability to hide his aura. When he was in the Sacred Heaven sect, even some 9th grade human Supreme Realm experts could not find his exact location. Therefore, Zhou did not believe that the Dark Emperor had this ability. Whoosh! However, to be safe, Zhou still turned his head and charged towards Ningyu. On the surface, Zhou wanted to attack Ningyu, but in reality, he just wanted to test the Dark Emperor and see if he could find his exact location. It's really a blind cat bumping into a dead mouse. After flying for a few steps, Zhou smirked and said sinisterly. The reason why Zhou was so sure that the Dark Emperor was a blind cat bumping into a dead mouse was because when he moved, the Dark Emperor did not move with him. In other words, the Dark Emperor did not know where he was, and what happened earlier was purely a coincidence. Sacred Heaven Fist. In an instant, Zhou appeared in front of Ningyu. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Ningyu's head. Sacred Heaven Fist was a profound martial technique of the Sacred Heaven sect. When used to the extreme, it was extremely powerful. In the past, when Zhou was an early-stage 5th grade human Supreme Realm expert, he used Sacred Heaven Fist to kill a late-stage 8th grade human Supreme Realm expert. Chapter 1169. Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi. In order to kill Ningyu in one move, Zhou gathered all the yuan-qi in his sea of consciousness into his fist. The pulsating yuanqi made a sizzling sound when it came into contact with the air. Zhou Sei's fist brought with it a violent yuanqi gale as it slammed toward Ningyu's head. Dark Emperor! Just as Zhou Sei's fist was about to land on Ningyu's head, Ningyu suddenly reacted and shouted. Whoosh! Following Ningyu's shout, the Dark Emperor in the distance suddenly turned his head and charged toward Zhou Shi. Humph! It's too late to think of dealing with me now. Zhou Sei snorted and increased his speed again. His right fist was only 1 foot away from Ningyu. At such a close distance, Zhou Sei did not believe that Ningyu could dodge it. Bang! At the critical moment, Ningyu did not panic. He clenched his right fist and suddenly punched out. A crisp sound rang out. Ningyu and Zhou Sei retreated several feet at the same time. However, judging from the distance they retreated, Zhou Sei seemed to have the upper hand. How is this possible? Although Zhou Sei had the upper hand, he still could not believe this result. How could Ningyu block his attack with all his might? When did Ningyu become so powerful? All kinds of doubts rose in Zhou Sei's mind. He was dumbfounded and could not believe it at all. It's not good to be distracted right now. At this moment, Ningyu's voice rang in Zhou Sei's ears. Swoosh! After the voice rang out, Ningyu's figure became illusory. He leaped to Zhou Sei's side and suddenly punched out with a violent yuanqi gale. Bang! His fist landed on Zhou Sei's chest, causing him to retreat in a straight line. But before Zhou Sei could retreat a few steps, the Dark Emperor seized the opportunity and whipped his neck with his tail. Poochie! The intense pain coming from his chest and neck caused Zhou Shi to spit out a mouthful of dark red blood. Damn it! The sudden change caused Zhou Ba to clench his fists tightly. His face was filled with viciousness. Careless! He had been too careless. He only cared about fighting with Ningyu and neglected the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor's battle prowess was not much weaker than Ningyu's. No, I have to think of something. Zhou Shi turned his head to look at the Sword of Evil and the doppelganger of the Great Desolation who were fighting fiercely in mid-air. His eyeballs rolled as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. The current situation was very crucial for Zhou Shi. If he dealt with them properly, he would be able to kill Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. If he did not handle this properly, he would be buried here today. So, Zhou Sei was very careful and didn't dare to be careless. He could only succeed and couldn't fail. Dark Emperor, capture him alive. First, Ningyu sent a voice transmission to the Dark Emperor. Then, he stomped his feet on the ground and charged forward. At this point, Ningyu finally understood what was going on. He didn't want to ask why the Divine Heaven sect wanted to capture Lu Wei anymore. What he was concerned about was how many more experts the Divine Heaven sect would send over. Zhou Sei and the others were 5th-grade human supreme martial artists. The doppelganger of the Great Desolation had also reached the pinnacle of 8th-grade human supreme martial artists. What Ningyu wanted to know was if there were any other experts from the Divine Heaven sect in the Great Xia Kingdom. Understood. Hearing Ningyu's order, the Dark Emperor flapped the purple gold wings on his back and flew out quickly. The Dark Emperor was naturally not a match for Zhou Sei when he was at his peak. But now that Zhou Sei was severely injured and his strength had dropped a lot, the Dark Emperor could still fight him head-on. Rumble! Ningyu and the Dark Emperor displayed their powerful battle prowess. They blocked off Zhou Sei's path of retreat with one at the front and one at the back. Zhou Sei's aura would drop after a period of time. 3 minutes later. Ningyu's acting skills were fast. He held the Red Devil Sword and suddenly pierced it into Zhou Sei's chest. As soon as the Red Devil Sword pierced into Zhou Sei's chest, Ningyu immediately withdrew it. Thump! After being pierced by the Red Devil Sword, Zhou Sei's aura dropped rapidly. In a short period of time, he had already dropped to 3rd-grade human supreme martial artist. Moreover, Zhou Sei's body fell straight to the back. Zhou Sei, I'll give you a chance to live. Tell me if there are any other experts other than you guys. I will kill you all. Ningyu didn't want to kill Josei. His goal was to ask if there were any other experts. Who would have thought that Josei was so proud? Before Ningyu finished his sentence, Josei's eyes rolled and he died on the spot. Josei's sudden death made Ningyu's expression very ugly. Ningyu could clearly feel that Josei had committed suicide. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all ruptured. Even his sea of consciousness was shattered. Go and help the Sword of Evil. Ningyu wasn't an indecisive person. He knew the severity of the situation. The Sword of Evil was at an absolute disadvantage when fighting with the doppelganger of Venerable Great Desolation. If no one helped, the Sword of Evil would be killed very quickly. Ha ha ha, Venerable Great Desolation, we will accept your doppelganger. Seeing that Ningyu and the Dark Emperor had come to help, the Sword of Evil laughed. Humph! Can you stop me if I want to leave? With a cold snort, the Venerable Great Desolation forced the Sword of Evil to retreat. Then, he tore the void and flew far away. This doppelganger was refined by the Venerable Great Desolation after a lot of effort. It was basically a part of his body. Once the doppelganger was damaged, his strength would drop a lot. Where there's life, there's hope. Moreover, the Venerable Great Desolation had made up his mind. Once he settled the matter at hand, he would immediately head to the capital to capture Ningyu. If he stayed, it would be a pointless resistance. The loss outweighed the gain. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Ningyu raised his eyebrows and his body became illusory. Buzz, buzz. Behind Ningyu, the Sword of Evil and the Dark Emperor's bodies also became illusory. Not long after, a figure flew out of the void and landed heavily on the ground. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood and his breath was extremely weak. Ningyu, I'll remember you. Just you wait. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the Venerable Great Desolation's eyes emitted a ferocious look. Oh no, retreat! Seeing the Venerable Great Desolation's action, Ningyu's face changed and he retreated immediately. Boom! Just as Ningyu and the rest took a few steps back, the Venerable Great Desolation's body grew bigger and finally exploded. Although it was only a doppelganger, the explosion of the Venerable Great Desolation was still extremely powerful. Ningyu, the Sword of Evil, the Dark Emperor, and even Xialan, who was far away, spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, in a cave outside the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom, 2 old men sat on stone stools. One of the old men in a black robe widened his eyes and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. Venerable Great Desolation, what's going on? Seeing the Venerable Great Desolation's appearance, the other old man in a gray robe asked doubtfully. It's just a small matter. I have to make a trip to the capital personally. I'll come and talk to you another day. Waving his hand, the Venerable Great Desolation tore open the void and entered. A small matter? Could it be for Ningyu? Chapter 1170. Chapter 1170. Treasure Vault Swoosh. Great Xia Kingdom, Danwu College, in the courtyard. After the Great Wilderness Supremacy's clone exploded, Ningyu and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. The worry on their faces was slightly alleviated. One wave had yet to subside, and another wave had arisen. Just as they resolved Dan Chi's worries, the Great Wilderness Supremacy and the rest attacked. Luckily, the Great Wilderness Supremacy was only a clone. Otherwise, with the mental state of Ningyu and the rest, they wouldn't have lasted more than 3 minutes. Swoosh! When everything calmed down, a figure dashed in from outside the courtyard and landed beside Ningyu and the rest. Mu Feng. Actually, Mu Feng had witnessed the entire battle between Ningyu and the rest. Mu Feng's cultivation was too low. He hadn't even reached the honorable realm and didn't dare to get involved. Dean Mu, prepare a quiet room for us immediately. Ningyu didn't beat around the bush and said directly, also, Bring over all the crystals and elixirs that you can gather at your current stage. After the battle, Ning Yu and the rest had expended a lot of energy and urgently needed to replenish their energy. Venerable De Huang, who had just self-destructed, was only an avatar. Once the great wilderness supremacy's real body rushed over, the consequences would be dire. After all, the great wilderness supremacy was a grade 9 human supreme. With the current state of Ning Yu and the rest, not to mention a 9th grade human sovereign, even a pinnacle 8th grade human sovereign would most likely die. Recuperate. Recuperate as much as possible. There was only one thought in Ning Yu's mind, and that was to recover to his peak state as soon as possible. Although Danwu College has crystals and elixirs, they might not have much effect on warriors of your level. After a moment of silence, Mu Feng said, "The royal family's Ouyangluan is outside. Why not?" Mu Feng didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was self-evident. Ouyangluan was the ruler of the royal family, and the royal family's foundation was similar to that of Danwu College. According to Mu Feng's guess, the royal family might have a treasure like the Xingyang pill. Dean Mu, you stay in Danwu College to deal with the aftermath. We will go to the Imperial Palace with Ouyangluan. With that, Ningyu grabbed Xielan and flew out of the courtyard. Just as Mu Feng had said, Ouyangluan was outside. Ningyu had just left the courtyard when he saw Ouyangluan. To the royal family. Ningyu did not speak any nonsense. He directly flitted past Ouyangluan and disappeared in an instant. Whoosh! Seeing that Ningyu had disappeared, Ouyangluan did not dare to delay and hurriedly followed behind him. Let's go too. After such a long period of recuperation, Talisman Martial Supremacy had long recovered to peak condition. The more he interacted with Ningyu, the more he felt that Ningyu was terrifying. Since Ningyu had left Danwu College, there was no point for her to stay. Talisman Martial Supremacy and Yun Mu looked at each other and could see the shock in each other's eyes. Stepping on the ground, Talisman Martial Supremacy and Yun Mu's figures flashed and followed closely beside Ouyangluan. Since Talisman Martial Supremacy and the rest had left, Dong He naturally would not stay behind. He followed closely and disappeared. Sha. Ningyu did not care if Talisman Martial Supremacy followed or not. He was already familiar with the Imperial Palace. Very soon, he arrived at the Imperial Palace from Danwu College and arrived at Ouyangluan's room. Swish, swish, swish. Before long, Ouyangluan, Talisman Martial Supremacy and Dong He appeared one after another. Ouyangluan, bring all the supreme grade essence crystals and above and elixir pills of grade 8 and above. Ningyu first placed Xielan on the chair and said in a deep voice, "Also, are there any treasures in the Imperial Palace? I mean, treasures similar to the Xingyang pill." Treasures? Ouyangluan frowned slightly and went into deep thought. After a while, Ouyangluan said hesitantly, "There are many treasures in the Imperial Palace. They're all in the treasury. However, I don't know which one is useful to you. Bring me there." Ningyu stood up and said, "Hold on." Seeing that Ouyangluan was about to leave, Ningyu said, "Find a reliable person to bring all the essence crystals and elixir pills over. I'll go to the treasury with you." "Hold on." Ouyangluan took out a crystal ball from his bosom, whispered a few words, and immediately crushed it. Crack! The crystal ball shattered and Ouyangluan said, "The location of the treasury is confidential. I'll bring you there." As he spoke, Ouyangluan moved his feet and left the room before Ningyu did. "If there's anything, contact me as soon as possible." Ningyu nodded at the Sword of Evil and walked out of the room without looking back. In the room, the Sword of Evil and the rest looked at each other and could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. To be honest, it was extremely difficult to rely on supreme grade essence crystals or even grade 8 elixir pills to recover at the level of the Sword of Evil and Talisman Martial Supremacy. Unless they had royal grade essence crystals or grade 9 elixir pills, it would be harder for them to recover to their peak. Of course, if they had a large number of Xingyang pills, they would probably only need 3 minutes at most to recover to their peak. Did the Imperial Palace have Xingyang pills? The answer was obviously no. Ouyang Luan led Ningyu through many turns and walked for a full 10 minutes before he stopped in front of a slightly dark stone door. Ouyang Luan forced a drop of blood essence into the groove on the stone door. He pressed his hands against the door and exerted a little force. Creak! The thick and heavy stone door was pushed open slowly. Be careful. After giving Ningyu a warning glance, Ouyang Luan took the lead and walked in. Ningyu did not hesitate and followed Ouyang Luan closely. The moment his feet crossed the threshold, Ningyu frowned and stopped on the spot. What's wrong? Ouyang Luan had to stop as well when he saw Ningyu stop. How many levels does the treasury have? Ningyu asked. Of course it's the first level. Why do you ask? Ouyang Luan was puzzled. He had been in the Imperial Palace for so many years, and he had been to the treasury hundreds of times. From what he knew, there was only one level. Could it be that there was a second or third floor in the treasury? That's right. The treasury does have a second, third, and even a fourth level. As though he had seen through Ouyang Luan's thoughts, Ningyu strode into the treasury. Using his perception, Ningyu started to probe carefully. Ouyang Luan did not even dare to breathe loudly when he saw Ningyu probing. He was extremely careful. Although Ouyang Luan looked calm on the surface, he was actually very disdainful. In Ouyang Luan's opinion, no matter how high Ningyu's cultivation was, he wouldn't be able to see anything. Ever since the establishment of the Great Xia Kingdom, this treasury had existed. After generations of exploration by the ancestors of the Imperial Palace, they came to a conclusion that there was only one level. I don't believe that you can, Ouyang Luan murmured in disdain. Crack. However, just as Ouyang Luan's disdain rose, his mouth opened wide and his voice stopped. This was because, with a cracking sound, the space in the center of the treasure vault had completely cracked open. Chapter 1171. Hellhound Gulp. The sudden change caused Ouyang Luan to be dumbfounded on the spot. He could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Shock, fear, astonishment, all sorts of emotions appeared on Ouyang Luan's face, making him look extremely comical. Slap in the face. A blatant slap in the face. As the ruler of the royal family, Ouyang Luan felt ashamed that he did not know that there was a second level to the treasury. What are you standing there for? Come in. Seeing Ouyang Luan in a daze, Ningyu reminded him. Yes. Ouyang Luan immediately reacted. His body trembled and he hurriedly entered the vortex with Ningyu. Poochie. As soon as Ningyu and the rest entered the vortex, Ouyang Luan felt a sweetness in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. Pressure. A powerful pressure. Ouyang Luan was only in the manifestation realm. Facing this pressure that could kill a supremacy realm martial artist, there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, Ningyu used his Yuan Qi to help Ouyang Luan resist the pressure. Otherwise, Ouyang Luan would not have been able to enter the second level of the treasury. Rumble. When his feet left the vortex and stepped into the second level of the treasury, Ouyang Luan looked at the scene in front of him in a daze. The second level of the treasury was extremely special. Rather than calling it the second level, it was more like a small and narrow room. As the saying goes, a sparrow may be small, but it had all the organs. This room was not big, but the things inside made Ouyang Luan dizzy. There was a stone table in the middle of the room. On the table there were 4 to 5 storage bags. Next to each storage bag was a piece of Emperor-grade origin crystal. It's actually Emperor-grade origin crystal. Ouyang Luan was not the only one who was shocked. Even Ningyu himself was shocked. Ever since his rebirth, he had only seen 20 Emperor-grade origin crystals at the Talisman Supremacy's place. Now there were 5 storage bags here. If he guessed correctly, There was a large number of Emperor-grade origin crystals in each storage bag. Come here. Raising his right hand, a suction force flew out from Ning Yu's sleeve and sucked a storage bag over. Pa. Firmly grasping the storage bag, Ning Yu split off a wisp of perception and began to probe. Hiss. Ning Yu sucked in a breath of cold air as soon as he probed the surroundings. It wasn't that there weren't any Emperor-grade essence crystals in the storage pouch, but the amount of Emperor-grade essence crystals in the storage pouch had exceeded his expectations. 1,000. There were a total of 1,000 Emperor-grade essence crystals in the first storage bag. Emperor-grade essence crystals were much more precious than sovereign-grade essence crystals. So many Emperor-grade essence crystals were enough to let Ning Yu recover to his peak state. In fact, the extra Emperor-grade origin crystals could even allow Ning Yu to reach the pinnacle third-grade mortal sovereign realm. To be precise, Ning Yu's cultivation was only at the early third-grade human sovereign stage. As long as he could advance to the peak third-grade human sovereign stage, he wouldn't have to fear ordinary 8th-grade human sovereigns in the future. He wouldn't have to fight like he did with Zhou Se and the others. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Due to the urgency of the situation, Ning Yu didn't have the time to stay here any longer. He quickly collected the remaining 4 storage pouches and threw them into his storage ring. 5 storage pouches and 5,000 Emperor-grade essence crystals. Ouyang Luan's eyes lit up with envy when he saw this harvest. Ouyang Luan regretted guarding the treasury but didn't know how to use it. If he had discovered so many Emperor-grade essence crystals earlier, the imperial family's power would have increased by several folds. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Ouyang Luan could only stare straight at Ning Yu to see what Ning Yu was going to do next. Step aside. Waving his hand, Ning Yu gestured for Ouyang Luan to take a few steps back. Ouyang Luan didn't dare to disobey Ning Yu's order. He quickly retreated to the edge of the room and summoned his essence to form a barrier in front of him. Break! Ning Yu's eyes turned cold. He clenched his fists and suddenly punched out. Crack, crack! The entire space crackled under Ning Yu's bombardment and shook rapidly. Poochie! The shaking of the void caused Ouyang Luan to spit out a mouthful of blood, and his face became slightly pale. Ouyang Luan's expression turned ugly. He initially thought he was safe. Who would have thought that there was no safety behind Ning Yu? Ouyang Luan even suspected that he would die if he followed Ning Yu to the 3rd floor. Roar! Just as Ouyang Luan was lost in his thoughts, a deafening roar echoed in the small room. No wonder you've been hiding in there. It's just essence gas. The corner of Ning Yu's lips curled up as he said calmly, "What I need are the Xingyang pills. Your time is up. Go back to where you came from." Human, you're smart to be able to tell that I'm just essence gas, and that my time is up. Buzz buzz. The void trembled, and a dog-shaped creature appeared out of thin air. Hound of Hell? Looking at the strange creature before him, Ning Yu frowned. You're the Hound of Hell. From this, it seems like this space was created by an expert from the Hound of Hell race. To think that you know about the Hound of Hell. The two-eared hound stared at Ning Yu with interest. I sense a familiar aura from you. You must have come into contact with the Heaven Devourer Hound. The Hound of Hell was the same as the Heaven Devourer Hound. They were both dogs. One of them could devour the heavens and the earth, while the other was like a messenger from hell. Both were extremely terrifying. I have indeed come into contact with the Heaven Devourer Hound. Ning Yu said calmly, this essence gas of yours can't last long. Let's not waste everyone's time and enter the 3rd floor. Although I would like to let you guys enter the 3rd floor, the rules are set. As long as I live for another minute, you guys have to follow the rules. The two-eared hound said calmly. Sorry. Ning Yu didn't want to waste his breath with the Hound of Hell and immediately charged out. There were 5,000 Emperor-grade origin crystals on the 2nd floor, and no one stopped him. However, the 3rd floor was guarded by the Hound of Hell. Judging from this, the third floor must have something even more terrifying than the Emperor-grade origin crystals. There's nothing wrong with offending me. The rules are set. If you want to enter the third floor, you have to defeat me. The two-eared hound looked at the approaching Ningyu and narrowed its eyes. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for you to defeat me with your grade 3 human supreme cultivation. If you could cultivate for a few more years, you might bang. Before the Hound of Hell could finish its sentence, its body was sent flying and slammed heavily into the wall. I'm going to die. Ouyang Luan's eyes widened when he saw the Hound of Hell's miserable state and cursed. After all this time, this Hound of Hell was actually so weak? How surprising. Chapter 1172. Danxia Zi Yuan. The Hound of Hell was a person who was willing to admit defeat. No, it should be a dog who was willing to admit defeat. Furthermore, the Hound of Hell even reminded Lin Fan before disappearing. Since you're in such a hurry to head to the third level, it seems like a friend is in trouble and needs a large amount of elixirs or herbs to replenish vitality. However, you have to remember that the third level is very complicated. Remember not to act impulsively. Wang. As soon as it finished speaking, the Hound of Hell's body gradually turned illusory. Eventually, it turned into an afterimage and blended into the void. Ningyu, are we really going to the third level? Ouyang Luan asked hesitantly when he saw the Hound of Hell disappear. Although Ningyu had defeated the Hound of Hell easily, Ouyang Luan wasn't deaf. He heard the Hound of Hell's words clearly. Even someone as strong as the Hound of Hell was a little worried, let alone them. Why are you talking so much nonsense? You stay here. I'll head to the third level myself. Even without Ouyang Luan's reminder, Ningyu had no intention of bringing Ouyang Luan to the third level. Even with Ouyang Luan's cultivation base, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure of the third level. Alright, I'll stay. If there's any commotion outside, I'll inform you immediately. Ouyang Luan was waiting for this sentence. When Ningyu told him to stay, he hurriedly replied. Gotcha. Ningyu couldn't be bothered with Ouyang Luan. He immediately tore open the void and dived in. The pressure on the third level was much stronger than the second level. Even though Ningyu was prepared, he nearly fell for it. Swish. Swish. As soon as Ningyu entered the third level, he felt two beams of cold light coming at him from two directions. Chi. Chi. The two beams of cold light were extremely fast. As they rubbed against the air, they let out sizzling sound. Not good. At the critical moment, Ningyu's eyes turned cold and he immediately dodged to the side. Boom. As Ningyu's speed was extremely fast, the two beams of cold light collided. The cold lights collided, and even space itself became extremely unstable, trembling. In the first place, the third floor of the treasury was a newly opened space. It was inevitable that it would be unstable. Who dares to trespass here? As soon as Ningyu steadied himself, he heard a loud shout. Hearing the reprimand, Ningyu immediately turned around. In front of Ningyu, there was a middle-aged man dressed in light blue robes, who exuded an imposing aura without being angry. Late 8th grade human sovereign? Sensing the aura emanating from the middle-aged man, Ningyu slightly knitted his brows. With your late phase 8th grade sovereign cultivation, this space shouldn't have been opened by you. Of course it wasn't him. As soon as Ningyu's voice rang out, an old man appeared beside him. The old man's cultivation was clearly much higher than the middle-aged man's, reaching the 9th grade human sovereign realm. However, the old man looked rather weak. He must have suffered serious injuries. Old fart, I advise you to hand over the Xingyang pills. Otherwise, I'll cripple you. Seeing the old man, the middle-aged man fiercely said, If it wasn't for your protection, the demon lord would have been killed by us long ago. Why would we wait till now? But that's fine too. As he spoke, the middle-aged man changed the topic and continued, Before the demon lord died, he passed all his Xingyang pills to you. Since I've found you, it means that I've found a large amount of Xingyang pills. You're dreaming if you want to get the Xingyang pills from me, the old man coldly said. Ah. The middle-aged man raised his head and laughed. Old fart, don't tell me that you've placed all your hopes on this trash? A third-grade human sovereign trash. I can kill him with a wave of my hand. Pardon my intrusion, but I heard you guys mentioning the Demon Lord. Can you tell me what's the relationship between you guys and the Demon Lord? Ning Yu slightly furrowed his brows. There's no harm in telling you. I'm called Dan Xiezi, a member of the Pill Success Continent's Alchemy Union. As for this old fellow, he's called Dan Guzi, also a member of the Alchemy Union. However, Dan Xiezi paused for a moment before continuing. Dan Guzi is a traitor of the Alchemy Union. He was the one who let the Devil Venerable escape, and before the Devil Venerable died, he took all of the Devil Venerable's Xingyang pills into this sealed space. If I hadn't left an imprint on Dan Guzi's body, I'm afraid that I would never have been able to find him. I understand. Ning Yu nodded. You have a grudge with the Demon Lord, while Dan Guzi is on good terms with him. So what if you understand? Do you think you can help Dan Guzi? Dan Xiezi curled his lips in disdain. Dan Xiezi, I'll help you deal with Dan Xiezi. Give me 100 Xingyang pills. Ignoring Dan Xiezi's mockery, Ning Yu turned to Dan Guzi. Whoosh! Ning Yu's demand wasn't just shocking to Dan Xiezi. Even the person in question, Dan Guzi, was shocked. 100 Xingyang pills? How could Ning Yu say such a thing? Although the Demon Lord was an Earth supremacy when he was alive, he did have a few hundred Xingyang pills. But the Demon Lord and Dan Guzi had used up a few hundred Xingyang pills on the way. Right now, Dan Guzi only had 80 Xingyang pills left. I only have a total of 80 Xingyang pills on me. I can't give them all to you. Dan Guzi's expression was dark. How about this? I'll leave 10 Xingyang pills for you, but you have to give the remaining 70 to me. Ning Yu's voice was low. Seeing that Dan Guzi was about to refuse, Ning Yu continued, Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Although I'm asking for 70 Xingyang pills, I can promise you that I will help you recover to your peak as soon as possible. You're certain that you can heal my injuries? Dan Guzi's mouth was agape, a look of disbelief on his face. While escaping from the Alchemy Union's experts, Dan Guzi had been poisoned. Snake-scorpion poison. Snake-scorpion poison was an extremely terrifying poison. In truth, when he had first been poisoned, Dan Guzi had a total of 160 Xingyang pills on him. After all these years, Dan Guzi had used up a total of 80 Xingyang pills to preserve his life. Otherwise, he would have long since died from the poison. I don't dare to say that I have a 100% chance of curing snake-scorpion poison, but I have at least an 80% chance. Ning Yu didn't make his words sound so certain. After all, even horses stumble. He couldn't be too certain. Alright, I agree. 70 Xingyang pills. Dan Guzi had a premonition that this was an opportunity. He had been trapped in this space for many years. He had originally thought that he would be slowly tortured to death by Dan Guzi. Who would have thought that there would be a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour? Ning Yu's appearance had given him hope. Are you daydreaming? Chapter 1173. A clay bodhisattva crossing the river. In Dan Xiezi's view, whether it was Ning Yu or Dan Guzi, they weren't his match. Dan Guzi might be a little troublesome, but he could kill Ning Yu in one move. Where did Ning Yu get the courage to be conceited enough to think that he could kill him? Noisy. Since he had come to an agreement with Dan Guzi, Ning Yu would naturally help him get rid of Dan Xiezi. With a cold snort, Ning Yu's figure flashed and he immediately flew out. While fighting against Dan Xiezi, Ning Yu looked down on him on the surface, but he was secretly very careful. After all, Dan Xie was a late-stage rank 8 human sovereign, and his strength was not weak. Courting death. As Dan Xie watched Ningyu approach him, a vicious look appeared on his face. With a low roar, Dan Xie clenched his fists and suddenly punched out. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 rays of light shot out from Dan Xie's fists and flew towards Ningyu. It's a soul attack fist technique. Feeling the soul power ripple from the light, Ningyu's heart trembled slightly and he quickly retreated. Ningyu could clearly feel that this punch from Dan Xie was extremely powerful. It was a soul attack fist technique. Universe Palm. As he retreated, Ningyu gathered his middle stage rank 7 soul power on his wrists and waved his palms. Voila! Several palm prints appeared on Ningyu's palms and clashed with Dan Xie's palm print. If the power was not enough, quantity would make up for it. Dan Xie had only sent out 2 palm prints, while Ningyu had sent out dozens of palm prints. I can't believe it. Dan Xie couldn't help but curse when he saw the sky full of blood-red palm print. Gotcha! Several palm prints clashed, letting out a crisp sound. Although Dan Xie had only sent out 2 palm prints, he was not at a disadvantage against Ningyu's dozens of palm prints. The 2 palm prints and the dozens of palm prints all disappeared. Dan Xie's face was extremely dark and ugly. He had endured in this sealed space for so long, all for the sake of killing Dan Guzi and stealing his Xingyang pills. After so many years, he had basically been fighting with Dan Guzi and neglected to train his martial technique. Otherwise, with his late-stage rank 8 soul power, he would be able to heavily injure Ningyu. Dan Xie, it of a late-stage rank 8 human sovereign doesn't live up to your name. After that move, Ningyu took a few steps back and crossed his arms before his chest. Even an initial phase 3rd grade sovereign like me can't defeat you. Could it be that you've been cultivating for so many years? Tisk tsk. The world of cultivation doesn't suit you. Let me give you a piece of advice. Go home and raise pigs. Being ridiculed by Ningyu, Dan Xie roared like a madman. Brat, do you think this is all I can do? Today I'll let you see what true strength is. Dan Xie took out a pill from his robes and threw it into his mouth. Gotcha! As he chewed the pill, Dan Xie's aura began to rise rapidly. Peak late-stage 8th grade human supreme martial artist. Peak 8th grade human supreme martial artist. With every passing second, Dan Xie's aura grew stronger and stronger. 10 seconds later, Dan Xie's soaring aura finally stopped. 9th grade initial human supreme martial artist. At this moment, Dan Xie's aura had soared from late 8th grade human sovereign to early 9th grade human sovereign. Furthermore, a terrifying pressure was being emitted from Dan Xie's body. It was clearly something that could only be emitted by a genuine initial phase 9th grade sovereign. Brat, I've already advanced to 9th grade human sovereign. How are you going to fight me? Raising his eyebrows, Dan Xie said arrogantly. Ningyu couldn't help but laugh. Who doesn't know how to brag? The breath-strengthening pill is a 9th grade spiritual pill that can allow a martial artist's aura to reach 9th grade human supreme martial artist's level for a short period of time. It might be able to scare others, but it's not enough to scare me. I forgot to tell you, I've made pills like the breath-strengthening pill before. Ah. Dan Xie was slightly startled at first, then he laughed maniacally. You're only a 7th grade intermediate alchemist, and you dare say that you've made the breath-strengthening pill before? What a joke. We'll know whether I'm a 9th grade human supreme martial artist or not after a fight. Ningyu didn't want to waste time with Dan Xie. He immediately took out the red demon sword and slashed out several sword rays. Dozens of sword radiance shot out and surrounded Dan Xie in the middle. Child's play. Surrounded by so many sword radiances, the worry in Dan Xie's eyes flashed for a moment before quickly disappearing. Ningyu's guess was right. Dan Xie had indeed consumed the breath-strengthening pill, a pill that could increase one's aura for a short period of time. Dan Xiezi originally thought that as long as he consumed the breath-strengthening pill, he would be able to fool Ningyu. However, no matter how much he calculated, he failed to calculate that Ningyu was a heavenly sovereign in his previous life, a pinnacle ninth-grade alchemist who had personally refined the breath-increasing pellet. Thus, Ningyu was extremely sensitive to the aura of the pellet. Dan Xiezi had to change his strategy. He wanted to use his soul energy to completely suppress Ningyu. Whoosh! With a thought, Dan Xiezi's soul energy rushed out of his body and arrived before Ningyu. Under Ningyu's frightened gaze, his soul energy entered Ningyu's consciousness. Let's see what you can do. The moment his soul energy entered Ningyu's consciousness, Dan Xiezi said coldly, "Your soul energy is only at 7th grade intermediate stage, but I am at 8th grade advanced stage. You're still not strong enough to fight me. Is that so?" However, just as Dan Xiezi's cold words left his mouth, the corner of Ningyu's mouth curled upwards and he spoke in an indifferent tone. "In my sea of consciousness, even a 9th grade soul force would not be able to contend against me. Have you lost your mind?" Dan Xiezi asked in shock. A 7th grade intermediate stage soul force dared to fight against a 8th grade advanced stage soul force? Describing Ningyu as a lunatic would not be an exaggeration. When he was at the Alchemist Union, Dan Xiezi had seen many geniuses. The strength of those geniuses' soul energy was not any weaker than Ningyu's. Even those alchemy Dao geniuses couldn't compete with him by relying on soul force alone, let alone Ningyu. Therefore, in Dan Xiezi's eyes, Ningyu was already a dead man. He was only half a step away from death. As long as he circulated his soul energy, Ningyu would die without a doubt. Remember this in your next life. When you meet someone with a soul energy much stronger than yours, you must seal your own consciousness. Do not let their soul energy enter your consciousness. Dan Xiezi said coldly, as if he had everything planned out already. Dan Xiezi, have you forgotten about me? Seeing Dan Xiezi's cold expression, Dan Guzi scolded. My soul energy is at the peak of 8th grade advanced stage soul force. If I join hands with Ningyu, we can easily devour your soul energy. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.